Hello, everyone, and welcome to Vex Warfield. I am Vex, your host. I wanted to know when is enough enough? One of the things I like to compare to what's going on is the Dark Ages. Back in those days, we were ruled by kings and queens, and everybody that they deemed, good enough to rule in that same class. And as far as the peasants were concerned, they were just labor. Nothing more than cattle to them. As long as they had their feasts and their banquets and had all the money in their coffers, they didn't care. And if you dared to speak out about it or speak up, you got your ass beat or even killed. Or maybe they just come by and cleaned out your farm. I mean, as far as they're concerned, hello, common sense, good to see you. As far as they're concerned, all that is theirs. Kind of the way our government, say that I want to spit every time I say it, our government seems to think that we are nothing more than their servants. When America was designed for them to be our servants, because our founding fathers learned their lessons. They learned their lessons well. And they knew, hey, Joe, good to see you. And they knew that the problems that were happening, you could not have a peaceful society, a good society, without the people. Otherwise, it's just forms of slavery. And if you see, I mean, they've even got good enough to where they've used technology to enslave us. I mean, I don't kid around when I say that we've never ended the Revolutionary War. We've been fighting Britain since then. It has never stopped. It has just changed. And they condescend to, us to believe that they're our friend. They're not our friend. They're our biggest enemy. And we can see that. Hell, you can see it just in the justice system alone. I mean, they use maritime law against us. Where does maritime law come from? Well, you can trace it back over to Britain. Where do the lawyers come from? Britain. And they've infested our country with all these idiots that are so sure of themselves that they've convinced us that they're right. They have legalized our system. They were never meant to be in our system. As a matter of fact, the 13th Amendment clearly specifies that they're not allowed to serve in any office. Yet, look at our government. Lawyers everywhere. Solovi, good to see you. Lawyers everywhere. They've got all kinds of people in place all over the place. And when you catch them and put them away, they've got somebody else waiting to take their spot. This is not something that they're doing haphazardly. Oh, no. They've written books detailing this stuff. And this is one thing where I'll give, one way where I'll give Alex Jones his ups, because that dude knows his history. He knows the correct history. And he's read their books. And he speaks about this, well, used to speak about it quite frequently on his show. But all of it's now about, COVID and all the big stuff that's supposed to keep our attention riveted to the news feeds and all that. It's all bullshit. It's the same way they're doing these mandates and stuff like that. God's night, good to see you. It's the same way they're doing their mandates and stuff. It's all a bluff. And they're not paying any attention to us, we the people, when it's supposed to be. Imagine kings and queens ruling over their population. Well, the way we set up America, it was the opposite. We the people told the supposing leaders what to do, and they did it. If they didn't do it, they were fired. Simple as that. And it used to be that way. I mean, I remember growing up, it was at least partially that way. Any type of bad news came out about any type of political figure, they were ousted from office. They resigned, whatever. But nowadays, it's almost like a badge of honor. Yeah, I got caught with 3 hookers. Oh, well, hell, let's make you governor, you know. It's ridiculous. And they're making it acceptable. And if they're not completely making it acceptable, then they are ignoring the people who complain. Either that or you get canceled. Ooh, you get canceled. Well, with our economy the way it's going right now, getting canceled is the least of your worries. You're better off if you're in a job that they're going to mandate you get a shot or wear a mask or something like that. Get a different damn job. You know that, or make them fire you. Hey, Yoki. We don't have proper voice. If we did, then we wouldn't be censored all over the internet. And we would have won a long time ago. I keep using California as an example. Now, I'm not from California. I don't hang out in California. I knew a few people from California. But I like to use California as an example because, quite frankly, the people in California haven't actually had a real vote in probably 20 to 30 years. Oh, sure, they go through and fill out their ballots and turn them in and stuff like that. But then what? They get lost somewhere and they get replaced with other ballots. Either that or they just go, no, they didn't win this one. They keep it so compartmentalized that it can be taken over almost at will. What's up, coachies? So California is a prime example. Hey, Scrimshaw, good to see you. But California is a prime example of how the people there have just been bullied over. I know that it's filled with patriots there. There's lots of people there that are all America. But they're being stifled. And especially there. I mean, one of the things that Alex Jones used to say is that, our type just wants to be left alone. He's right. He's right. Because we don't get in the middle of everybody's business. Or try not to. We just want to live our lives and do our thing, hang out with our friends, our family. Talk about the sports scores and statistics for that. And we just want to be normal. But they're making it so we can't be normal. There is no more normal. Everything is life and death and urgency and a cause, and everything is just so charged. It's not going to get any better unless we make it better. Now, most people, in general, they will think about this and be like, yeah, let's fight them. That's the wrong way to go about it. Believe me, I've had many, many years of me going, they should all be hung by the neck until dead or shot during arrest. But that's not going to solve our problem because somebody else will take their place. What we need to do is take control of the reins. Take a hold of the reins and control the horse. And that is we the people standing up and taking accountability and holding people to account. Now, there's a proper way to do it. You guys know my rants. You guys know about me talking about the assembly. This is continuing what our founding fathers started and maintaining it. We haven't maintained it. As a matter of fact, we've done such a bad job, not entirely our fault, but we have done such a bad job of maintaining our form of government that it has become a communist government. Little by little. One little piece of legislation being changed here, legislation being changed there. Started whenever they got rid of the 13th Amendment. At least that aspect of it. What we have to do is get together, literally, with other people in other counties in our state. Get enough people together, and it doesn't matter what the federal government says or does. They can't touch us. Because the states are more powerful than the federal government. You know how I know this? Because we, the people, created it. We created it first through our counties, through our states. Each state is a nation state. Seriously. Just like you would think of Israel or any other country all over the world. Venezuela, all that. Each state is its own nation. We just so happen to come together as 50 states and work together towards common good. Come together, but we are individuals. That's why Kansas can't make Missouri do anything, and Missouri can't make Kansas do anything. But we can talk to each other and go, hey, how about if we work out a compromise? That's what the United States is. Exactly. States have independent power higher than the federal power. Yes, because if it wasn't for the states, the federal wouldn't be there. There's really no need. The only real need for the federal government overall is to protect our borders. That's their job. We know right now they are doing way more than that, don't we? That's a breach of contract. They are not fulfilling their contract with us. And we have the responsibility to put it right. That's as an individual and as a group. Because we, the people, are all in this together. Even the freaking libtards. Even those idiots, they're we the people too. Unless, of course, they are lawyers and judges and stuff like that, then they are foreign citizens. I don't know. One of the problems I've seen is that people want to bring lawyers into the assembly. Lawyers are the last people that should be allowed into the assembly. Hell, I don't even believe city cops should be allowed in the assembly. Just because, like the lawyers and the judges and everybody attached to our legal system, are within the corporate government. They are beholden to them, not to us. That means we don't have a say, and they will do as they choose. As long as it's within, what the corporate government wants done. I know there's a lot of lawyers. around the United States. Believe me, I know. There's law offices all over the freaking place just here in Jefferson City. You know why? Because they need them there. It makes it, they have made it so that you cannot understand the law without them. You're beholden to them. I mean, this was originally set up so that everybody could understand what the laws were. Like I wrote in the description, you can't go a day without breaking at least one law, whether you know you're doing it or not. Yes, exactly. Attorneys, money machines. They generate revenue from we the people. It is in their best interest to get you in that court system. It is within the police department's best interest to get you in that court system. That's how they generate their revenue. And for mostly, all these people that have to go through the court system should not be going through the court system. If they knew their rights and was able to understand them and speak on them, then most of them would be able to walk free. Yeah, we should be our own government, but we are not, because we have allowed this monster to grow. Some of it, like I said, is our fault, but some of it is not our fault, because they've done one hell of a job with, well, let's just say they know the psych profiles on us. They knew what it was and when it needed to happen, and they made it happen. I mean, so much so, I knew nothing about this up until about 2 years ago. Know your rights, exactly. What are your rights? Can anybody, I don't know, you guys in chat, what are your rights? Tell me. Let's see what you know. Maybe we can do a little illumination. I mean, we all have a right to what? One of my little pet projects, the right to free travel. We have the right to go wherever we choose. We don't have to get permission from anyone. Second Amendment, right to bear arms, that's right. But do you know where our rights come from? Our rights come from the Ten Commandments. They come from our Creator. That supersedes we the people, and it way supersedes their corporate system. And they know this. They know it very well. That's the reason why they're doing everything the way they are doing it right now. Like I said, they've done this. They've had many, many years to come up with plans and do psychological studies on how people would react to different things. The Constitution is an extension of the Old Testament. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Biblical property. Freedom of speech. Yeah, let's go, Brandon, indeed. The Salt Lakers here. Welcome. See, if you can imagine our government as it sits right now as a bully, and they've been picking on we the people for a long time, picking on us left and right. I mean, some places can't even gather rain water because evidently our government owns the rain. I mean, We all know they've tried to take land away from people. Just, we want it for something else. The right to peaceably assemble for the redress of grievances. Yes, that is what it is. We have the right to bring complaints to these people, and they're to fix them. But what would happen if we did that today? Yeah, Fourth Amendment, search and seizures. Yep. Yeah. What would happen if we went up and, I mean, you've seen the people waving, going and demonstrating, holding up their signs and doing their chants and stuff like that. How did that work so far? Let me tell you something fundamental. Going to a protest and holding up signs is all fine and dandy. But that's not what assembly means. What assembly means is getting people together who are like-minded and are possibly fed up with something that's going on. Say like the school boards mandating masks. What about all those parents getting together? They decide to go over to Mary Johnson's house and have a meeting. Well, that's the people assembling right there. It's not them holding up signs in front of the governor's mansion. It's them getting together and going, I don't like what's going on. You don't like what's going on? Good. I don't like it either. Well, let's do something about it. Well, what can we do? Right there's where we start. What can we do? You follow the 10 steps. One of the first things about the 10 steps is gathering as many people together that is like-minded as possible. I mean, just parents can become an assembly. And the power of the assembly is, well, it is on top. It is the power. People say strength in numbers. Well, the assembly is a perfect example of that. Strength in numbers. Now, I'm not talking about mob rule. No. Mob rule is chaos. It doesn't serve us. Exactly. We are here together now. They're trying to tell the parents that they don't have a right to tell the school boards or the teachers what they're supposed to be teaching. I know this is bullshit. I know this for a fact because, quite frankly, where I went to school, the parents got irritated because something was being taught in the school. Now, this was way back, I don't know, 80s, early 80s. I don't remember exactly what was going on because I wasn't really paying attention to it. But I heard my mother and father talk about it. And I heard other kids' parents talk about it. Didn't really know what it was, but it was them basically teaching something that they didn't want their kids to be taught. And you know what happened to the people who were pushing and teaching that? They got fired. They were fired within 2 days. Not only fired, but they left town. Because they lived in the neighborhoods. And they got tired of parents walking up and knocking on their door and say, you will not teach this to my child. And a few of them actually got hot under the collar and had arguments with the person. But regardless, that is the effectiveness and what it is to assemble. People getting together, wanting to get something done. That's all there is to it. The only thing that makes it difficult is treat it like a meeting. because it should be handled orderly and done correctly. Because if it's not done correctly, then quite frankly, the legalese system will screw you every chance they get. Every chance they get. Their job is not to be fair. There is no justice in the justice system. Their job is to keep you creating revenue for them. And if you can't create revenue for them, they'll stick your ass in jail. You see how that works? They don't care if you lose your job because of it or anything like that. That's not their problem. Their problem is to screw you out of money and make you feel guilty during it. For real. That's what they do. Their job is not to get to the bottom of it and learn the truth. If you think that, I'd call you an idiot. Their job is to trick you into screwing up so that they have full control over what happens to you. And they want you pissing themselves. They want you groveling. They want you on your knees begging, please, judge, please, lawyers, please, retarded girl taking notes. Please, 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 don't be mean to me. And they're like, they don't care. They don't care a bit. Not one damn bit. As far as they're concerned, you're nothing but cattle. You have no rights. Not within the maritime system. You have no rights. You're just cargo going from one place to another. Your birth certificate, driver's license, all that stuff is part of your legal fiction. It is something they created for them to make money off you. They have, I won't explain this correctly. Their legal fiction it was created the moment you were born. Hey, Nate, good to see you. That legal fiction, that straw man, was created the day you were born. And they basically leveraged your potential income, life expectancy, all that stuff into a dollar amount. That's all you are. And to make it even worse, the dollar amount is merely a tool. Leverage on you. See, we made a mistake in the 80s. That's when, as far as I'm concerned, the big, capitalism bounce happened. Everybody wanted to make money and fake it to make it type started. It wasn't a good look for us. As a matter of fact, we wore quite goofy shit back then. But regardless. Capitalism works if it's balanced. And the 80s is when it started going out of balance. Well, at least as far as I'm concerned. It may have been out of balance for other people at other times also. But for me, that's when I saw it. That's when I first started gaining knowledge of it. And things were going really weird. And when all this was starting, we had a decent economy. I noticed every time that, during Reagan, but we had a decent economy, and it seemed like they were doing all they could to screw it up. everything was about the gas prices. Oh my. It went up 50 cents. It went down. It went up. It went up again. I mean, that's one of the things I remember most because everybody around me was bitching about it, all the adults. But I didn't realize how much, what they were saying was just really inconsequential. I mean, sure, it was in the news and on TV. I mean, it was all the time, but that's the whole deal with them. They use this to create points for you to stare at. Look at the shiny light over here while I'm fucking stealing your wallet over here. All this stuff that we're going through right now, all the news feeds and all this that's just ridiculous and overblown, and it's all fake. I mean, the stuff's happening, it's real, but the proportion of hype that goes with all this stuff, is screwed up. And it's meant that way to keep people focused on these stories, to keep your mind occupied, to make sure that you're not looking over here in the dark corners, because in the dark corners where the real skeletons are. Look over here so that you don't see all the rest of the stuff, and don't dare talk about that stuff that you do see, because then we come around to the cancel culture and all that. On one hand, I'm not surprised. On the other hand, it's so freaky to me how much control they have gotten over propaganda itself and how well they've used it. Give you a nice new shiny technical object and everybody goes googly eyes. And everybody says we're moving forward. We are regressing. That's the whole funny thing about the progressive movement, is because it's that word they use, progressive, is the complete opposite of what it actually is. Notice that. We can look back in hindsight. It's 2020. We can look back and see how everything has been manipulated. I mean, all the way back, stuff like the Patriot Act. How in the hell is that about patriots? How's that for patriots? I mean, progressive is regressive, good is bad, black is white, and the infinitely small percentile of people like transgenders and stuff like that, they're so small, they have to rule the world now. I mean, if you're not a freak, you're not allowed to, be in the spotlight. It's almost like demons. Demons showing their true colors. I heard something recently that kind of cracked me up, because I hadn't heard it for a while, because I usually hang around people that know better. But something came up recently that kind of threw me off guard, just because I wasn't really expecting to hear something like that. But somebody started basically saying that we can't wait until Trump, takes back over, then we can really get stuff done. I had to start chuckling. I was like, wow, that's a really deluded person. I mean, the reality of the situation is Trump and people like him are waiting for us to assemble. That's The God's honest truth. I can't be more truthful than that right there. They are waiting for us. Trump, the military, they are waiting for us to stand the fuck up, be adults, and take charge. Not stand the fuck up and, start loading weapons. No, take charge like responsible adults. The kids and the insane people have been running this fucking thing into the ground long enough. I'm sorry it takes stuff away from your everyday life, but it's time. I've had enough. I'm sure a lot of you have too. I need everyone to go to the National Assembly site and sign up for your state. Contact the people in your state. And it's easy to do. I've done it. And get in on this. Because we will be setting the tone for the future. And if you want to say so in it, this is the way to do it. And it's not like this is some country club or a special, secret society. No, this is what the founding fathers done first. This is how we started. And we are following them as an example. If it doesn't wash with the Constitution and God and God's law, then it doesn't fly. And that's why I made the comment earlier about being precise in what we do. Because if we're not precise, these lawyers will tear it apart and probably send you to prison. But the better we are at putting this stuff together, the better off everyone will be in this country. And then the more better off they will be in the rest of the damn world. Then we can have this utopia because we will be running this shit correctly. So this is me crying out for help. Help me. Help me do this so that everybody can benefit. You want a little incentive? Well, all this money they've been taking from us for so very long for unsubstantial reasons, basically just because they have a pet project they want to do. All of that's fraud, and they owe us that money back. We'll never see that unless we assemble. You want to be a millionaire? Help me assemble. Help me get these states together and get all these people in their counties together. And let's all become rich. Simple. I mean, it's not something that's really complicated. Exactly that. Taxes are not lawful. Taxes are them bullying us. Why the hell do you think they want to keep guns in the hands of the IRS? Are you shitting me? Because more and more people are starting to realize that taxation, hey, actually really is theft. Because our government wasn't set up this way. We gain money for the government by taxing goods going in and out of the country. That's what we did to make money, and it worked just fine. The only reason it wouldn't work just fine is if they had all kinds of these projects that we're not allowed to know about. I mean, this can be done, and it can be done so easily. We just need the people, the numbers. 3/4 of our states, 38 states, 3/4 counties within the states. And we can settle. We can give notice. Hey, we are here and we're not going anywhere. And then as soon as that is done, they have no choice. They have absolutely no choice. It's written in their own rules. Because, quite frankly, we wrote these rules for them to follow, not for them to impose on us. We have been scammed. We've been scammed. Over many years, a couple generations. And they did it with their propaganda. Which I haven't spoken about in a little while as far as the Smith-Mundt Act. The original Smith-Mundt Act was back in 1948, which prevented the U.S. government from using propaganda against the American people. And then good old shithead Obama got it through his lawyer-filled House and lawyer-filled Congress to basically turn it into the Smith-Mundt Modernization Act, which, for the most part, I mean, does other things, but basically makes it okay to use, propaganda against us. Our own government. Well, I don't know about you, but that's not my government. And quite honestly, one way we make them pay for all this is the only way I've figured out. And I've been searching for it for a while. And it's the assembly. I mean, I never thought it would be this difficult to get so many like-minded people together just to do one thing. I mean, I figured it'd be flooded with people. Just pissed off people who wanted to do something about it. Who didn't want to be pushed around no more. Didn't want to be bullied. And it's real easy. All you gotta do is learn a few things, watch some videos, get an understanding of it, and then you work with other people who want to do the same thing as what you want to do. I mean, slam dunk in my book. And the only thing keeping us from just going ahead and making all this happen is just that one simple thing. The number of people. We have to have majority. Or else we don't have any teeth that we can sink into their necrotic flesh. So, basically, I'm using this, of course, to try and get people interested in the assembly and get people to realize that it's their personal responsibility to do so. What's up, Disavowed? Good to see you. And it's real simple. It really is. All you got to do is learn. It is that easy. Careful what you speak now, Disavowed, because I have some answers. It's easy and it's complicated at the same time because we have to do it correctly. That's the one main thing about it. You can't go in there guns blazing and think you're going to do things immediately. That's not how it works. Like I said, we're continuing what our founding fathers started. In a sense, we're starting over. and we're going through all the documents that we that we can get our hands on, really, to figure out when it all started and how we can combat it. And if you can't sit still and don't like doing research and stuff like that, maybe it's not for you. But I know we have a whole internet full of fucking people who do research on a minute to minute basis. And quite frankly, a lot of that is honestly just playing into the propaganda. Yes, that's a good point. Law is complicated. It's very complicated. So complicated you need an interpreter for it. They're called lawyers. And the lawyers work for basically the justice system, which is run by essentially the British accredited registry, the bar. And those same people are all over our government. Yeah, nothing worth doing is easy. And I can tell you this from experience, because quite frankly, I'm still learning it. I've been doing this for a little over a year. I'm still learning and have a lot left to learn. But it makes sense. It makes the only sense. In a world this crazy, this is the best sense anything around has done. Was that a sentence? But it's made the most sense out of everything in my life, even more so than science. And, those of you who know me know that I love my science. But this makes more sense than that. I wish I'd have paid attention more to political stuff when I was younger, so I was better versed in all of it. So I wouldn't have to do so much catch up now. But it is what it is, and I am playing catch up and trying to learn as much as I can, not just for myself, for every one of you. Every one of you that won't help out or may not be able to help out, whatever your circumstance is. That's okay, because we'll find the people who will. I would love for all of you to be a part of it, because there will be nothing more glorious than when we get this going. You will see immediate changes. Immediate. Hell, if you guys want to check into it, Alaska itself has declared its, has given notice. How old am I? I'm 50. So I've been alive throughout this whole change and watched it happen. Didn't realize it at first, but now in hindsight, I realized that, yeah, I lived right through it. Unfortunately, it didn't catch on to and sink in until recently. Like I said, I've never felt compelled to get myself involved in something like this. Never. As a matter of fact, I would have been the last person. If you'd have told me 10 years ago that I was going to be doing a YouTube channel talking about this stuff, I'd have laughed my ass off. Because for one, public speaking is not my forte. As a matter of fact, I did everything I could to keep myself from being in this type of situation. I was an introvert, a loner, all that stuff. I was not a popular person. I've never been good at, from one of my last live streams, I read off a story about David Crockett, or that David Crockett wrote. And quite frankly, you could see my educational level shine through on that one, because I did a very poor job at it. But, it was me trying to get myself out of my comfort zone. This is completely out of my comfort zone, what I'm doing now. But I feel so charged by this that I am compelled to try and pass this knowledge along to others and get people to join in with me. And with all the hundreds of other people who are in this also. I mean, it's like I said, it's not just for me, it's for everyone here. My fellow Americans. And this is the stuff that they have purposefully kept from you. The stuff that I'm talking about now should be common knowledge to everyone in here. I mean, Moonlight, good to see you. Everybody should already know this. It should be taught in our grade schools. Right after you say the Pledge of Allegiance, you talk about the power of the people over the government. Right after it. This should be everyday common knowledge. And yet, I get people who combat me on it. Well, this is not, this is crap, or whatever the argument may be. But this is how it is, or how it's supposed to be. We the people telling them what to do, and they do it or they're fired. Period. End of story. That's it. And right now, we could go up there and tell them they're fired. They just laugh at us and keep doing what they're doing. You know why? Because they have the legal system, the legal fiction, up as a shield. Simple. They're a bunch of evil bastards trying to basically do mass population control on everybody. Does that seem right to you? Doesn't seem right to me. It needs to be stopped. And one way we can do it, and one way they know that we can do it. That's why it is not taught in our schools. Yes, they want complete obedience. They want us to be good little cattle, just like back in the Dark Ages with kings and the peasants. That is one way to do it. Have children, because they don't want you to have a lot of children, because that increases the population. They don't want the increase in population. That's why everybody's saying, well, there's not enough resources, and population booms would just wreck our economy. And no, actually, no, it's quite the opposite. Anything that they're freaking out about, we need to make sure and do. They want us in complete chaos, complete mistrust. They don't want you to listen to me. They don't. They really, really don't. Because they know this is the truth. And if, they wanted, if it was okay, then I wouldn't be in the internet ghetto right now on YouTube and not get any reach whatsoever. I mean, if this was a fair platform and we the people were actually in control, then there would be no problems, because as soon as you go against our right to free speech, you get in fucking trouble. And it's that simple. It really is. You do something wrong, you get held accountable. End of story. But that's not how it is. And that's not how they are going to make it. So I'll go ahead and put the link out in chat. See if you guys want to come up here and join me in this little conversation. Actually, in this monologue that I want to make into a conversation. And go ahead, join me up here. We'll talk about it. But the more you doubt the truth, I mean, you have gut instincts. Listen to them. That's the best. That's the best advice right there. You do good, and it'll benefit everyone. And let's go back to the schools. The schools are not teaching the children what they need to be taught, are they? So why do we keep sending our kids there? Convenient daycare? Hey, Latin Patriot, good to see you. Why are we sending our kids to a school that teaches them all the wrong things and then tells us when we complain about it to take a hike? Well, a lot of people are going to go, well, if I take my kid out of school, that'll affect my work and my job. Yeah, so it's going to anyway. We're about, I'll just say conservatively, we're about a year away from complete collapse. Hell, probably even sooner. There are going to be no jobs. But I guarantee you, those schools will find a way to stay open. And then you'll be required to send your child to the school. Hell, they might not even be allowed to come home, and most times, maybe on the weekends, maybe not. You have to wait for a good long while before, with the indoctrination to kick in fully. So that way, by the time they do return home, they're fully indoctrinated and they start turning you. Or maybe they just decide that they're going to vaccinate all the kids there. And then your child comes home and dies. Or gets paralyzed. Hello, Latin. Welcome. How you doing?
Hello. I'm good, thanks.
Excellent.
I don't know if you got to see my comment about why people send their kids to public school, but there's stereotypes. People make fun of homeschooled kids all the time in the public schools, and I don't know why they do that, though.
Well, it's pretty easy. It's part of the propaganda. Anything that goes against their narrative is immediately ridiculed. Plain and simple. Same thing with the schools. Hell, anything in the news. I mean, come on. And you've seen how they react to just the political stuff going on.
I never realized all this propaganda was so prevalent everywhere until like the last 2 or 3 years. Like I started noticing more and more. And then the more that I heard like these weird stories, the more it made me want to investigate what they were talking about. And I would find out that they were twisting things around.
Absolutely. Now, they were doing this propaganda push way back in the day. They started out in a kind of a tame way. What they did is they started advertising companies. You get it? They started advertising companies and then moved into other areas.
Like commercials.
Yes.
Okay, subliminal messages.
Yes. All that stuff was coming out. Now, they did this way back in the days of, black and white TV and stuff like that, when, everybody was starting to get televisions. Another technological advance that they used. Now, next thing you know, everybody's got to have a television. If you don't have a television, then you're just a hick or a bumpkin or something like that. You can't afford it. You're one of them poors. I mean, propaganda has been used on us for a very long time. And it's not only on the bad side, on the good side also. I mean, they had patriot propaganda going out, I remember when I was a little kid. I mean, I saluted or not saluted, but put my hand over my heart and said the Pledge of Allegiance and stuff like that. I mean, that's propaganda also. And this is something that we're neck deep in. Actually, probably higher than that, but you get what my meaning. Propaganda has been more powerful. I mean, it's been in an ingenious way of swaying the public view. I mean, propaganda has been used. Well, hell, look at any election anywhere. Propaganda is used. That's why I say it's politicians, their job is to lie. Lie for a living. We pay them to do it. How is that a legitimate thing? Did you know that the original way that politicians, well, I won't even call them politicians because they weren't even politicians until the corporate structure took over. Because they weren't known as politicians, they were known as statesmen. Statesmen were sent at a particular time for a particular reason. And then when they were done with what their business was, they came back home and went back to their job. It was essentially treated like jury duty. You went and served your little time, and as soon as that particular thing was done, you went back to what you were doing beforehand. Simple as that. You were going to say something? I kept on going.
Well, someone in the chat said, I don't remember what their name was, that they started changing the textbooks. But actually, my son is like 16 years old, going to be 17 soon, and I've never seen a textbook brought home like when he was in elementary school.
Mm-hmm.
And so my friend said that that's not actually legal for them to photocopy and then send home just the photocopy paper. But I'm not sure.
Yeah,
So
I don't know much about that.
They never sent like actual books with us, with the kids during like the younger years in the elementary school.
From what I remember, it was mainly just papers that would go back and forth. Because, the homework usually was pretty simple. One sheet, fill that out for that class, one sheet for that class, one sheet for that class. And you brought it home, you did the homework, and then you took it back. No, I never had to take a textbook with me. Not until I got into probably 6th, 7th grade.
Well, they're saying now that the kids in Las Vegas aren't being given homework because they don't want to stress out the kids. And I was wondering if you've heard anything about any of the local schools or from other parents complaining.
Well, yeah. Well, not specifically on that, but I could speak to it as far as that goes. I mean, it's the lack of critical thinking. Homework promotes critical thinking because you have to do it outside of the school setting. So it's kind of having you do work in a different area so that you can do it more or less automatically. Hey, Epstein, good to see you. It's something that I find myself on the opposite side of when I was younger, because quite frankly, I argued against homework all the time. There's a lot of homework that I never did. And it was because that I spend so much time at, school. When I get home, I don't want to deal with school stuff anymore. I mean, that's my time. So I kind of had that view when I was younger, but now I understand what homework is for. I kind of wish I'd have learned it a long time ago, but my education is spotty at best anyway. But I never, I had a lot of trouble doing homework just because I wasn't into it. I thought it was the stupidest thing around. I mean, with most of my classes, I was one of those type of people who could basically learn whatever they were teaching right then and there. So I didn't need to do homework because I already knew it. So uh, I was kind of lucky in that regard because I had good understanding of what was going on around me. So yeah, I never did my homework, got bad grades, and eventually dropped out of high school. And in a way, that's a good thing, but that might be another story entirely. But yeah, I understand now. And as far as the homework goes, it's something that needs practice. I didn't understand it myself because, well, I hate sounding like I know everything, but I don't. Um, but I knew, from my perspective, I knew what was happening. I knew the lessons being taught. If it's a math class, I knew I was learning fractions today, so I knew how to do fractions. That type of thing. I didn't need an entire week to learn it because it was, in my eyes, simple. A lot of other people, it wasn't so simple. But I didn't have that perspective to draw upon. I only had mine. And unfortunately, it was a very narrow view at the time.
It's really funny. You like said, "Hi, Epstein's ghost," and I didn't know what the heck you were talking about. He's in the chat. I remember Epstein's ghost. Hi, Epstein.
Yeah, he didn't kill himself either.
Yeah, he didn't. He had a will to live because he wanted to see more. What would you call him? He wanted
Freaks.
to. Yeah, he wanted to get freaky again someday. He was hoping for that freedom so he can go back to work, and make America great again.
Yeah. Send all your children down to my island. We'll give them an education.
Yeah,
Sick
that's
fuck.
what I meant.
Yeah. I mean, right now, I know there's a fundamental difference between when I went to school and school now. School is not the same place. I wasn't really paying attention to it, but I did notice a few things over the years. For instance, my little cousins and stuff like that would be like going to school, and I'd look in their books just to see what kind of stuff they had, and it looks foreign. There's been so many
I'm
changes made
sorry.
to the.
What
What's
did
that?
you just say? You said you were looking in what? And that it was
Uh,
foreign?
my little cousins, their school books. Um, I have cousins that basically I've watched go through school and stuff like that. And whenever I go over to the house, I'd check out what was in their school books, and I'd have them, tell me what it was they were working with, stuff like that. And it is vastly different than when I was in school. And I'm not talking about, updated books. No, I'm not talking about just that. I'm talking about the stuff that's actually in the books. Half of it doesn't make any damn sense. Now, I'm no authority on it because, quite frankly, like I said, I'm a high school dropout, and quite frankly, I slipped through a lot of my classes. So I'm not an authority on this. Just the stuff that I've seen, though, is vastly different from the overall programs that I went through uh, back in my day.
Stop
But
making it so funny. Grandpa!
get off my lawn. But yeah, it's so vastly different, and half of and well, 80% of it has nothing to do with teaching them what they need to know to survive in the real world, and that's always been my gripe. I mean, learning different classes and knowing chemical reactions of what happens when you put what color of flame copper emits when you put it on under a flame. It just little things like that is not really knowledge you need for the future, but it can help you go into a future knowledge. It could spark an interest. It can illuminate your path to where now everything is geared towards keeping you in the dark, really. Telling you slightly false information and mixed in with the truth so that it takes you a
Right.
different way.
Yes, like I listened to a YouTube video today, and it's this very influential doctor of psychology, and he talked a lot of truth in the video, but he mixed the fiction with the facts.
Ah,
And it
Yeah,
was just really weird because I could see some of the fiction like very easily. And
yeah,
somebody who's not aware of the real, um, the backstories of what he was saying would believe everything he was saying because he's a doctor. He has authority. He's an authority on the topic. We should believe him.
yeah,
And what is
and
that
that's
called? Like I think it's I forget what class I took, but they teach like slippery slope and straw
hmm,
man. I think is that what class is that? Anyways, so that would be like an authority, like
I don't
how
know. Normally I would say political science, but
well, it would be like people that I know in person. They say, "Well, I heard it on The View, and Whoopi Goldberg said it, so it must be true." It's so funny.
that's hilarious. I heard it on The View, so it must be true.
Yeah,
Really?
because they're too
Bought and
they're
paid
too
for people
lazy.
with the script.
Well, I used to be one of these people. I used to be too lazy and I wanted to be entertained. So I would like watch these morning shows for some of the news, but they twist it all around, but like The View is
Of
the
course they do.
worst.
It's all about agenda. No, I wouldn't go that far, but they're pretty low. Yeah. But yeah, mixing lies with truth is essentially like a chef mixing in seasonings. It's really their spice. It's the best way for them to do it, even when it doesn't make any damn sense. I mean, hell,
It's
we've
like their
all
trademark.
listened to
It's like their
Pelosi.
trademark. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It's what they do, and they're so sloppy with it. It cracks me up that it saddened me at the same time because more people aren't seeing through it. Because they say one thing and then they say a different thing, and then they go back to the original thing, and then they go and lie about that and make it into a different lie, and then come back to the first thing, and it's just like, come on, people, can't you see through this? Please, just think a little.
It's like when I see Biden give a little speech and then he walks away and won't answer any questions. Like they only give us like a piece of the truth.
Yeah, especially when you use yeah, especially when you hold it in contrast with Trump during his administration, basically being in front of the cameras 24/7 and always talking to them, even when he shouldn't.
Yeah, answering hard questions.
Eh,
Mhm.
yeah,
Did you
even stupid
um
questions that have no need to be actually asked,
right,
but
I remember that. It was ridiculous. It was a skit
keep moving
show.
along. It-
Epstein
eh,
had a question for you.
yeah. Oh, sorry about that. Let's see what we got.
Hey, Moonlight Gypsy, they might as well be drinking the pool water, huh?
All right. Welcome, Bebo. What's up with you?
Yo, same old, same old.
Yeah, I know you're
I've
not a
talked
fan
with
of.
you. What's
Huh?
that?
Oh, I say I know you're not a fan of the assembly stuff, but I'm curious what's going on.
we we've been lied to the whole time, man.
Well,
Since
of
the
course we have.
inception of the country, the
Yes.
British
Well,
didn't lose;
yeah, you're right.
they won.
Yeah,
Okay,
where was the treaty signed?
let's even look at your assembly. Do you know the history of the assembly? Where they get that word? Where'd the word the assembly come from?
Go ahead, tell us.
It was the French Revolution.
And
Oh, we screwed the French. The French helped America during the war. Marie Antoinette and them, they funded us to help beat the British because they hated the British. Right?
And then what happened?
And then right after, America screwed the king and queen over there and let them get beheaded. And help back the assembly. Which was
and
the
it was
new
all done because of. Go ahead.
Well, that was the beginning of liberal democracy. They went in, they killed all the people in the church, killed all the Marie Antoinette, killed the king, queen, whacked them out. I mean, I don't know, man. I'm sort of a guy like, you know, if a country helped you out, you shouldn't have did them like that, you know. And then even after the British, look right after the British defeated us. What's the first things they did to us? Imposed the same economic legal system onto us that we were fighting against.
Yeah, that was pretty much what I was talking about earlier. And they've imposed it on us. I say this: it's the Revolutionary War never ended. We've been fighting the British ever since. They just changed the tactics and the battleground.
Yeah. And acted like
they are
lost.
Not our friend.
Hey, well, no one's our friend. No one. Freedom's only popular to the people that are the peasants. You know, the rich around the world don't like freedom.
Exactly that. So that's one of the reasons why I started my broadcast the way I did, talking about the Dark Ages, because we're going into the Dark Ages right now. I mean, sure, we all have the height of technology. What we gather is the height of technology.
I would argue the Dark Ages was some of our greatest times.
You could, but for the most part, it was a bunch of wallowing in shit while we gave all our food to the kings and queens.
The Enlightenment era came out of the Dark Ages.
Like I said, there are some good aspects to it, but for the most part, people lived in shit while starving, while the kings and queens had plenty of food and threw it away.
I mean, but there was less government.
Like so fat and disgusting looking.
I would imagine.
You see my avatar.
Yeah. Was that Templar?
Yeah. So I don't think kings and queens are necessarily the problem.
Oh, but it was a good start. I mean, you have to think about it like this. Where did the kings and queens get their power from?
God.
No, they don't.
That's a big lie.
I mean, they say that. Yeah, they say that.
Everyone that has their power on this planet, everything's allowed by God.
You know what I think they did?
Yeah, that's
like, hey, we're gonna trick these stupid peasants over here. We're gonna pretend God came down to me, and I'm gonna say I've been bestowed and been ordered to be king, and I'm gonna pretend I'm smarter than these other people, and maybe do some tricks, and then they're gonna have to follow me. Like, and then you get these other people to like support that are in on it. That it's like a big Ponzi scheme is what I think they did.
Well, there was kings and queens before that even. I mean, let's be honest.
So I really doubt that it was God that put them in power, honestly.
I mean, there's always been religion and there's always been kings and queens throughout any time in history.
Yeah, I go along with that. But what tops both of those, well, at least the kings and queens, is they are ordained by God, like you were alluding to, but through the church. And the church was just another form of subjugating the peasants.
Right. Well, the church, during the Dark Ages was probably when the church was at its strongest. It was stronger than most governments.
Exactly. And
right?
that's why I think we call it the Dark Ages, because the church was in control.
Yeah. Well, and you had governments at their weakest point. What you had is during the Dark Ages was the fall of the Roman Empire. Okay, after the fall, the Holy Roman Empire was like the, last dying flails of the Roman Empire, and the Holy Roman Empire sort of just like merged with the church. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, or they made them merge with the church. The church has already declared that everything it surveys is theirs. Right. That means you, me, the land beneath us, everything around us is the church's, not God's.
But yeah, to a degree. And then what ended up happening is people broke up, and then the kings started vying for power again. So then you had like King Henry wanted to start his own church. He just didn't want the Holy Roman Church. He wanted the Church of England. And then you had King in France. He's like, no, now I want my church. And they all started just making their own churches. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And changing all the rules as they saw fit.
Yeah. Right. They even killed some popes that didn't go along with what they were saying. Like, Friday the 13th, I've told this before. Do you know the origins of Friday the 13th?
Go ahead and tell everyone.
The origins of Friday the 13th goes back to the Knights Templar. Okay, the Knights took a vow to celibacy. They took a vow to poverty, right? I don't know how many people know this stuff, but they took vows just to serve the Pope, not to try to get poverty, wealth, marriage, only to serve the Pope. That was it. Like, serve God. And the Pope was the man representing God. Okay. So, but what ended up happening is the Silk Road. Are you guys familiar?
Yeah.
The Silk Road was the trade route to China. Okay. What ended up happening is you had all these groups, the pirates that would be attacking the trade route, right? And so the kings of these countries came to the Knights at the time, the Knights Templar, and they're like, we'll hire you to protect these routes. And then the Knights did it for a percentage of all the trade, right? And they ended up in turn becoming the wealthiest people in Europe was the Knights. And then the kings, like the King of France, ended up owing the Knights so much money. This is how Friday the 13th came along. He went and he captured them. No one has the true story of the Knights Templar. Everyone's like, they were worshiping the head of Baphomet and they were homosexuals. And we found a cave under you get what I'm saying? That's the story everyone knows, right? That they were homosexuals. That's why they were celibate, right? That's what we're taught.
No.
Right?
Well, propaganda has been there a long time.
Well, the king of France went and grabbed them. He went and grabbed them and locked them up and then set them up. It was all a setup. No one knows this, and most of the people in education don't teach this. He set them up. He went and threw John the Baptist's head, made a shrine, made all this homosexual propaganda, and then he killed them all on Friday the 13th because he owed them money for the trade route. He didn't pay him. And that was the end of the Knights Templar.
Yeah.
And that's how Friday the 13th got its bad omen or whatever, right? And every month, if you have a Friday the 13th, the first day of the month is a Sunday every month, which is interesting. Because it's 13 days. But that's where it came from. It was literally the knights being killed, and then the leader knight got caught, and that's where Roman candle came from. They tie you to the pole and light you on fire.
Right.
And that's what they did to the knights.
A lot of them went into hiding and gave up all their stuff to blend in and
Right.
move on.
And the king of France, which his name was Philip at one time, he was actually doing everything he accused them and set them up of doing.
Yeah,
He
sounds
was
familiar.
into homosexual sex. He was promiscuous. He was his daughters both ended up being like whores.
And that's how they get a lot of the population is they get them to fall to all this lack of morality.
That's the
And
problem.
yeah, and they've capitalized it on over the years. I mean, even back when, back in the olden days when, full-length dresses and, everybody's, wearing the equivalent of a suit jacket or something like that. It was too proper for them to take hold, so it took a while for them to do it. So they opened up a window in our legal system and took full advantage of it. Next thing you know, this is legal, that's legal. Pedophilia is becoming mainstream. I mean, how sick is that? I mean, as far as I'm concerned, all them people need to be executed.
Right. The loophole in
Hey.
our system is that they're allowing for the detachment of God from the system.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Exactly
the
that.
loophole. Yeah.
Well, they
and-
know
and-
they have to destroy God's word in order to take hold.
That's right. That's right. Because
And the only way to do that is to basically convince you that God doesn't exist. Or one of the things I love to throw out there at everybody is Paul Harvey, If I Was the Devil, watch it if you haven't already. He breaks it down real nice, and he's got a great speaking voice, and he is just a
I've seen
legend
it.
in
It's
himself.
great. It is great.
And I believe what he described in that is exactly what happened. You want to know it? There it is.
But you see, even on our own side, people in our own circles, when I try, we want to keep it secular also, even the people on the right.
Hmm.
So it's like secularism is a liberal ideal. So when we're promoting that too, we might as well be siding with the left.
Yeah, you have to give me a definition on secularism. Remember, I'm a high school dropout.
Separation of basically like government and religion.
Yeah, okay. Well, yeah, they had to do that. I mean, in order for you to destroy something, you have to separate it from what it is tied to. Our government originally was basically a derivative of, well, maybe not a derivative, but it came directly from natural law, God's law. That's the base. Now, if you can't destroy that because it's written into it, but if you can find some way to separate it in just a small area, taking it out of the schools, you can open up a big door. And next thing you know, we're living in a time where Christianity is the bad people.
Well, that's right, because in a way they are now, because they've infiltrated the churches, the hierarchies of the churches.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
I'm
one
not
of the
saying,
reasons why. Go ahead.
I'm not saying like the churches are all holy and righteous. You get what I'm saying? I'm just saying that
yeah, I would.
The pilgrims weren't fleeing religion. The pilgrims were highly religious people. The pilgrims were fleeing monarchy. You get what I'm saying? Everyone acts like the forefathers were fleeing religion. They were fleeing kings. They weren't fleeing religion.
Yep.
It's
exactly
bullcrap.
that. I mean, the Revolutionary War was a perfect example of it. Right there. I mean, yeah, they were backed by God, but they were fighting kings, queens. That structure of the peasant being on the bottom, where the people have the power.
But you talk to a lot of even patriots. You talk to a lot of patriots, and they're like, "Oh, this is why we started this country, to get away from that religious." You
No,
know, it's
they're
common.
wrong.
It's common even in the right. People saying it, right wing Republicans, whatever you want to call
Yeah. Well, there's a good point right there. 501c3, tax exempt status, LBJ, 1940 or 54.
it.
Now, uh, that well, actually, I probably shouldn't have highlighted on that. But as far as that goes, the churches were exempt. It wasn't because it wasn't because they were holy and they wanted to be set aside. No, it was another scheme. It was a scheme for them to make money to, essentially produce more sheep.
It's to have a carrot over them. That's what it is.
Yes, yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Uh,
They
put
dangle
these.
the.
Well, I was going to do the, money corrupts, and then it corrupts absolutely. And that's the way they set it up, so that these local people became bigger than local people, and they enjoyed it and kept growing and growing and growing. Then it becomes a franchise.
They're doing it to everyone. They did it to the farmers. They went in. We'll pay you not to grow stuff. We'll give
Yeah.
we'll give you $10,000 an acre not to grow stuff this year. You know, they do it to everyone, and then they get
Yeah.
everyone on the dole. Everyone's on the dole, and once you start having that money come in from them, it's hard to say no.
It is. I mean, especially when you don't know the reasons behind it. And the reasons behind it are more important than what actually happens. Because, like I said, they put themselves in positions to, in small increments, change things in small ways that open big doors, little keys. And they change the way it's supposed to be. Now they got everybody who's dependent on government. And it's much easier just to get a free paycheck than it is to actually go out and do something. Again, sabotaging our just work ethic. That was something that we had. The United States was considered hard workers. We needed it, we made it. That's what we did.
Yeah, we're
Now
definitely
it's-
not that now.
Exactly, because they made it so it is not there anymore. They turned us into a service industry, which basically a service industry makes us all peasants again. I mean, think about it. You're trained to serve, which brings us back to the schools. You are
Yeah.
trained in the schools to serve.
I mean, Christianity teaches that though too. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
Yeah.
there's difference in serving God and serving a master.
You know, if you have a master in the Bible, it's quite obvious. It goes even back to the government side, like obey the law of the land side. You know.
The law of the land is not the law we're under now.
Yeah, but it's debatable, you know. But the problem with us is you cannot have a good society with moral corruption. It's just not possible. I'll ask you a simple question: are we better off if we get rid of bad people?
How do you mean get rid of? Like,
Sure,
just
right?
they're gone?
I think I'm losing you a little.
Oh, faded a little bit.
See, dude, it's always the dilemma of between what's moral and what's not moral. Yeah, that's what it always comes down to. They'll use everything against you as a religious or a moral man. They'll say, "Oh, you can't be for the death penalty if you're a Christian. You can't be." You know, you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get it, and I agree. It's all about, yeah, it's the lack of morals that's creating this, and if you're not taught it, for instance, we grew up where, well, I grew up where one parent basically was the breadwinner. And then I grew up through essentially that changing to everybody works and no time for their children. Then that was basically what that did, is create a disconnect between parents and kids. That disconnect created an opening, which allowed everything to be taught by the schools, in which the years before that, it was taught by the parents. And it was pure factual stuff that was supposed to be taught in the schools, to where you learned about life at home. And they taught you what you needed to know to be a functioning, productive member of society. Now, after this has started, where both parents are working, it creates that disconnect, like I said. And that creates that hole for the government to essentially take over. Now, you've all heard it, your parents don't have any say-so anymore, or getting really close to it. And we're seeing all the people fight back, like I was talking about the school board meetings and stuff like that earlier. They're starting to fight back and stuff like that, but it's a little kind of late. They should have been doing that years ago. They should, as soon as this COVID stuff kicked off, they all should have went, hey, wait a minute, isn't this just the flu? And we never panicked about the flu before, even when there was SARS and all those other different variations that they've been escape out of the same fucking lab in China for the past 20 years. So, I mean, like I said, one of my favorite little sayings is it's all connected. Am I breaking up?
Yeah, it's weird on my side. Like you keep going in and out sometimes, but like, yeah, I agree with you 100%. Though, like, that's what happens when you get the government running education. Though, that's what happens.
Exactly that. Government running the education. It was the parents running the education before.
Yeah.
Nothing went into the schools that wasn't okayed by the parent. I mean, it just wasn't done. If something went astray, the parents went, oh, bullshit. And they stopped because they knew their asses were on the line. Now they're backed by this federal bullshit, which is complete bullshit. And they're just railroading and bullying everybody around them. Welcome back, Latin Patriot.
Hi. Are we allowed to say the C word, the H with CHINA?
China.
Yeah. I just heard that YouTuber guy that I was talking about earlier say that China is exploiting all of Africa, the continent of it, and that it basically owns all of Jamaica, and a building that's a government used facility, a building that was purchased by China also. So
yeah, they've been moving in to take over the precious metals and diamonds and stuff like that in Africa for the past, I don't know, year.
But the building is in California. It's an office for emergency services. They own it.
Well, yeah, they own a lot of, or China owns a lot of California. And a lot of different places all over the United States. Rhyme of the Ancients, good to see you. Hi, Susanna.
I've heard people on the radio say that the U.S. should just confiscate the properties and not allow them to purchase anything, especially the farmland.
Well, we used to have laws against that until lawyers made it basically okay for it to happen.
I didn't know that. So what was it like before, and then what's the after?
Well, no foreign entities could own land on U.S. soil, period.
Well, when did that happen?
I wish I could quote you when.
Rough estimate?
I know it happened, but I don't know the dates on it. I'll have to look into it. Maybe Somebody in chat may know. So, now you got me looking up stuff.
Oh, you don't have your music on tonight.
Yeah, I forgot to start it. I got going on my monologue and forgot about it.
It must have been after Reagan, so in the 80s.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Because, Reagan was dealing with the whole Russia thing and China at the same time. But yeah, they were keeping them bay. And then, damn it, I wish I could remember. But yeah, it was, you had to go through a big old, basically a lot of red tape to purchase land from the United States, just because we knew better than to let foreign entities on our land.
Well,
I mean,
because they don't give us the same respect. They openly are racist against Black
yeah,
people.
they're racist against everybody that's not them,
Yeah,
but
why?
nobody
Well,
talks about that.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, there's, like I said, a lot of small things have been done that open up big doors. People think it's insignificant at the time, but it's just lack of vision, really. Because if people played it through and went through the scenario of it, then they'd understand that a lot of this stuff happened because, well, it happened beforehand. But one of the pivotal points was the lack of the taking out of the 13th Amendment, which was legalized out of our Constitution and all. They opened up, they used a small key to open up a big door, and they walked right through, and they haven't looked back. And now, like I said earlier, we're inundated with lawyers everywhere under maritime law, corporate law, and nothing to do with God's law. As a matter of fact, they're trying to get rid of it altogether. That way, we're all just property, and they can do with what they will.
What's really crazy is last Sunday I heard John Hagee, the preacher, the televangelist, talking about the NWO, the New World Order.
Mm-hmm.
And that
What do you
was really
say?
weird. There's YouTube clips of it. I was not paying attention to it, but I just heard him enough to say, I heard him enough to know what he was saying, that he was talking about like the being there like a one world currency, that there's going to be a new world order, that we're at a battle with this being pushed on us. And like I heard maybe not even 60 seconds of it. So
Well,
because I
I
already
guess I'm more interested in whether he was talking favorably about it or negatively about it.
I think he was warning people that they need to be
Okay.
yeah, because I don't remember if I heard him trying to get along before, which I know some of them
Okay.
have, you know.
Well, I know a lot of the different preachers have been touching on that and talking against it, just because they're seeing just like we are. I mean, I talk badly about organized religion, but it's really the organized religion I'm talking badly about. I know there are good people in all kinds of different religions. Just because one religion does horrible things doesn't mean everybody in it's bad. I get that.
Yeah, we're not supposed to we're like they're individuals, but there might be like groups of people. that are all
Oh,
in con-
sure. Absolutely. I mean, as far as I'm
like
concerned, the
because just
Vatican is
because
totally corrupt.
yeah, like just because there's a lot of, people from south of the border crossing illegally and you look at me, that doesn't mean I'm an illegal too, you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's just that simple. I like keeping it simple. Yeah, all it's all been brought to pass because we haven't stayed on guard, and we have to put ourselves back on guard and suck up real information like a sponge. The more we know, the better we're prepared, and the better we're prepared, the more we can fight against this crap and put it to bed for good.
Well, it's really crazy is that my mom told me she's in her 60s. I think she's like 66 or something.
Mm,
She told me today she got some medication so that she won't get shingles. You know what I mean?
mm,
Um, and I was like, well, why'd you do that? I said, why didn't you tell me? Because I've heard that can cause like, dementia and Alzheimer's after they get it. And so she grew up in Mexico, and I think she was born in like 55 or 54 or something.
mm.
And she doesn't even know what she was given as a child or a young teenager so that she wouldn't get diseases, but
Right.
she hardly, I really doubt she was, I believe she was only given the extremely necessary ones, like the ones against polio. And she says she got one when she was pregnant here in the United States, which was probably for measles, the
Mm-hmm.
German measles. But she hardly ever gets sick. She never goes to a doctor.
And
Like,
that's kind of the key.
and I live with her, and my kids go to public school. And when they weren't in school, they never got sick. And then when they started going back to school, when they reopened after the lockdowns, my kids started getting sick right away.
Yeah.
But my mom would not get sick from us, but I would get sick too, along with my kids.
Yeah.
So it's like, and I know I've known a lot of older people that were born in the 1900s, like my grandparents, and they never got sick. My grandmother was born in like 1900, like maybe 1917, and the lady I took care of for work, she was 96 years old in like 2001, I believe. So I think, what year would that make her be born? Like before 1910, I think. Let me try to check on my calculator. I'm not good at math.
Don't ask me to do
2000,
freeform math.
my 96 years old. So she was like born like in 1905. She never got sick, like they were so strong. Like they didn't seem like weak people. Like their bodies seemed very like well built,
Hmm. Well,
and
you think about it. If you think about it really logically, I mean, back in those days, the beginning of the 1900s, people were living in dirt. The cities didn't have roads; they
oh,
had
the dirt
mud
floors
pies.
and a lot of the homes in Mexico are still walls of mud.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they live in the midst of it. Their immune system is already dealt with stuff and just, been there, done that, had the t-shirt. I mean, and then they come in contact with all these other people who, like you made mention of you and your kids would get sick, but she wouldn't. Well, that's just a stark contrast. As soon as the doctors got more popular, that's when people started getting sick more. That we'll say, I'd say right around mid 80s. That's when people started getting sick more and more. And then people started leaning on the doctors more and more as a crutch. So now doctors can't do no wrong. Now you change up the plan so that the doctors aren't regular doctors anymore. You start putting in these new ones that have been put through the medical schools that have already been taken over by this, we'll just call the globalist types. and put their people in place in those colleges and start teaching the wrong medicine.
Yeah. So there, my mom's, she was born like in the 1950s, like I said, and her mom and her sisters, like their family, they used a lot of what's that type of like herbal medicine, holistic medicine,
Yeah, holistic.
to do, like, to help them, like, because where they lived, the doctor's like an hour away, and like maybe there's like a pharmacist in town, which was my cousin. And I remember I was sick one time when I went to go visit, and I think she gave me some penicillin or something. And she was just the pharmacist, and she was allowed to like give me medicine, you know?
Yeah, because
Like
that's
I was
when
like I
stuff
was an
was pretty
animal.
much up and up. Yeah.
Well, that was like in the 90s when I was there and I was sick, and she gave me a shot, you know? She didn't need a doctor's permission. I
Well,
mean,
you
I don't
know,
know what
uh,
I don't know if she's actually a doctor or just a pharmacist, actually, because I was too young, and I haven't asked my mom today, you know, about it.
well, there's a major difference between, say, like city doctors, pharmacies, and stuff like that, and country doctors and pharmacies. Because for the most part, me growing up as a child, my doctor was kind of a country doctor, and I can think back to all the times I've gone to him, and his way of being a doctor is completely different from, say, a city doctor. A city doctor doesn't know who you are. You're just a number or somebody with a chart, and they basically experiment with you. That's what they do. Well, here, you got these symptoms. My training tells me that it gets this pill, but we'll go ahead and put it at this dosage, and then you come back next week and tell me how that's doing, and then we'll adjust it from there. I mean, even down to psychiatrists doing the same damn thing with psychedelics. I
Yeah,
mean,
those don't help a lot of times.
yeah. I mean, we have, they are not medical doctors. They are drug dealers.
Witch
Big
doctors.
pharma. Yeah. Make-a-wish doctors. There you go.
No, I said
But
witch doctors.
I don't know. Both of them work. Make-a-wish doctors.
Yeah, maybe.
I want to be a doctor. Well, we can make that happen for you. Here's your diploma. Here's your coat, stethoscope, and here's your list of drugs to basically push on your customers. Remember, you can give away free samples. Get them hooked. You know it, buddy. I mean, they're big pharma's drug dealers in lab coats. The only difference in them is they get paid very well to deal drugs, more than the regular drug dealers do, because, you know, they got a degree. I mean, hell, I would be more apt to trust some buddy's, you know, knowledge of chemistry and making
Like,
up my medicine before I would trust doctors.
yeah, like a trusted veterinarian first.
Hell yeah. I mean, think about it. The veterinarian has the perfect training for medicine. They have to be able to diagnose a goat, a pig, a cat, any animal, and figure it out and get them well.
Yeah, because they can't say, "Hey, doctor, I'm having tummy aches," you know?
Exactly. They can't talk and tell him what the symptoms are. He's got to figure that stuff out. So I would consider vets being the more medical doctors than anyone else. I would trust them way before it, because they have to deal with husbandry. They have to know the different, you know, how to feed the animals. You know, they have to know everything. And yet we put these, you know, Harvard medical students basically on a pedestal, which is ridiculous. I went to school for this long. Ha ha ha. I command a big paycheck. I don't give a shit, dude. You're still just memorizing words out of a book. I mean, veterinarians live that shit.
Yeah, I have a
Yeah.
cousin who's a veterinarian because they have pig farm.
Hmm.
So it's too expensive to wait for the veterinarian to come and help you and then to have to pay them, in
Yeah.
Mexico, especially after they were robbed of a vehicle with pigs in it,
Hmm.
full of pigs, and like nearly shot to death, like kidnapped kind of. They were able to get out of it. And then they, over there, if something happens to you, the police say, well, what did you do to deserve that? They don't, they're like already communist over there.
Yeah. Well, with the last area that's not. No, and we're, I'd say about 50% of the way there, actually. Last place on Earth. And we're having a hard time with the people in it because of all this damn propaganda. I mean, propaganda plays into the doctor's stuff too, also. I mean, we've all been taught that you go to the doctor if you sneeze, Well, in the old days, they were like, you're sneezing? Shut up and go to school.
Yeah, I never got to stay home from school just for like feeling like I
I
had a
had to
cold.
get the measles to stay home.
Oh, you had the measles?
I had to, yeah,
You had
I had the
Okay, so
measles.
what was that like?
Got it from a buddy.
How old were you?
I think I was 8.
Was it that bad?
Yeah,
Like,
my
did you
mom
think
sent
you're
me
gonna
over to a buddy's house. Yeah, no, I was just out of it for a little while. I mean, I had a high fever and that type of stuff. But for the most
Is the
part,
measles dangerous?
sure, anything can cause a high fever can kill you. I mean, you can get a fever high enough to cook your brain.
My
The
friend
key
said
is
that.
to manage the fever.
Yeah, my friend said that in the old days, they used to do crazy things that were not productive in helping to reduce the fever. Like they put her brother in like ice cold water when he had a fever, and that shocks the body. That's not good, supposedly. You know, if
Yeah,
that's bad.
hypothermia too. Great. Yeah, there's ways to take care of that, and the my point in being and saying it is, back in the old days, people lived through it. Sometimes their children would get sick and get through it, or they would get sick and die. It sucked, but that was the fact of life. And what they did was they learned what worked and what didn't work by trial and error through the years, and they figured out what would work. And then all of a sudden, dun dun dun, here comes Super Doctor. Super Doctor went to a fancy school and he learned book stuff and he's got it all memorized. And if he doesn't have it memorized, he can always look, it back up because he's got the books. Where a veterinarian would just be like, yeah, do this, this, and this. All right, call me tomorrow and let me know how they're doing. Okay. But Super Doctor would give you all kinds of stuff to try. He might even
Um,
give you leeches.
um, are the mandates constitutional?
No, the government cannot mandate a damn thing. Everything, hell, I'd say, just to put a percentage on it, 96% of the executive orders that idiot has fucking put out are all illegitimate.
Like a
He
bastard
can't
child, huh?
dictate. He can't dictate. It is his job to fulfill the will of the people. That's it. So everything he's doing goes against the people. So therefore it is null and void. Period. That is the lawful way of it.
So I just looked up what does mandate mean and online. So by Merriam-Webster online, it says an official order to do something royal mandates must be obeyed. They carried out the governor's mandate to build more roads. I guess was an example. Something royal
Yeah.
to do something royal mandates must be obeyed.
Yeah. That's why it exactly goes against the Constitution, because the United States is directly opposed to that way of thinking. I mean, really, mandates are illegitimate. The only people that can mandate stuff is your parents can mandate how you live. At least for a certain
Like,
amount of time.
I think a mandate is like two guys going out to have dinner.
Mandate.
Do you know what assemble means?
Go ahead.
You want me to tell you?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, online, Google says it's a verb and it means to gather together in one place for a common purpose. So, by telling us, oh, well, we can't go have Thanksgiving with our family, or we can't go traveling anywhere, we have to stay home, we can't go to work, we can't go to school, they're impeding on our First Amendment right to assemble, which is
Yeah.
against the Constitution. So those are illegal also.
Yeah. Anything that goes against the Constitution is null and void. Period. That's the simplicity of it. I mean, it's right there. I mean, it's anything that goes against the Constitution, because we know the Constitution was written in a righteous and basically a moral fashion. To go against tyrants, people who would do bad things. The founding fathers, they weren't dumb men. Sure, we would consider them primitive and stuff like that, but they were very, very intelligent. Without the, well, we'll just say the deficiencies we're dealing with in today. They had clear thought and purpose, and they put it to paper. That's all we got to do. I mean, really. And all this goes away. Because once we the people stand, they must sit. That is written into their code. And that's why they don't want us to know anything about it.
Oh, I just looked up what your topic was. It's about overreach.
Yeah.
I guess you guys have already talked about how in Washington that they're trying to force even the homeschoolers to be getting the Jabberwocky.
Yeah. Isn't that hilarious? People found a way that they could bypass. So the government finds a way to worm its fingers into your home. You have no more rights. That's what they're saying. You do what we tell us to do, or there will be consequences. This is thug mentality, criminal behavior. And it's mainstream. Simple.
Yeah, it's definitely
Enough's enough.
Everybody's tired of it.
Yeah, definitely.
They're trying to wear on us. They're trying to break the spirit.
And see, that's the whole thing about me trying to get people to join up with the assembly is if we get state assemblies organized, they're done. Absolutely done. They have no recourse because they can't order the military to do anything against us. Anything they order the military to do against us is unlawful, and they should be treated as treasonous pieces of shit. The real military, the people who back us have been waiting for a long time for the assembly to get going, to tell them what to do, because they're not allowed to do anything. They're constrained until we tell them. And if we don't tell them, they're just going to be continually constrained, not being able to do anything except what's within their scope as the military. They can't do anything until we, the people, tell them to do it. Otherwise, they have to follow along with the dictates of this illegitimate government, or at least put up a good front for it. They have no choice, because as of right now, our government is de facto, and the only cure to it is the de jure, which is we the people in assembly.
Because well, I mean, I'm confused on like why the police officers are breaking the laws. Like
They're
with,
not breaking the law.
they are breaking the law by arresting people for doing free speech.
Well, yeah, and that's the corporate law. That is in effect. What we're experiencing right now is corporate law. All these people that are just doing what Americans have always been able to do is now criminalized because of the propaganda. These are bully tactics. Like I said, this is mob mentality, not mob as in the mob, as in like organized crime. This is organized crime on a global scale. Make no mistake about that. Then they will follow the dictates of it until we stop them. Simple. They will do everything they can get away with until they can't. And they will go down kicking and screaming the whole freaking way, taking as many of us down with them as possible. I mean, hell, right now, there are people in prison for the January 6th thing still. That is outrageous. The people involved with the Whitmer kidnapping, all the feds involved with it, making it happen, and then pinning it on the regular people. Outrageous. Quite frankly, I'm shocked by the restraint of the American people right now.
Oh yeah,
I'm
I know,
shocked.
because I know there are other people that seem like they're instigators. Like in Discord groups, they seem like they will complain and like put ideas into people's head, like visuals, of what to do if someone comes and knocks at your door saying, "Hello, would you like a Jabberwocky?" And I said, "Hey, look, this person is trying to instigate something, you know, and if somebody does from this group does anything stupid, really, stupid, they're all gonna get investigated."
Now, along that vein, I'd like to throw out one of the 18 U.S. codes, actually two of the 18 U.S. codes. 18 U.S. Code 241 and 242. It's a conspiracy. Damn it, forgot the words. I'll bring it up real quick. But, well, we got Susanna joining us. Hello, Susanna. Hello, Susanna.
Hello. Sorry, I had to
There
fix
she
my
is.
mic.
Good to hear you.
This is good to be here. It's been a while, Vex.
Yeah, that's all right.
How
We
you
should be
doing?
doing it more often.
Yeah.
All right. I'm just going on my little rants and trying to teach people the best I can about stuff that I've learned. How are you doing?
Good. A little wore out. I've been busy today, but I was just listening to you all.
No, hope we're not too boring.
No.
All right, the 18 U.S. Code 241-242. Come on, slow computer, do your thing. Thank you. Basically says it's a no trespassing notice, a lawful no trespass notice, including individuals, public corporate officials, their agents, employees, or franchise thereof, private property. And these are signs that you can put up that you've probably already seen put up on different people's property. I have actually one on my door at this moment, my front door. Basically, it's I should have just pulled up the regular 18 US code. That would have been faster. Duh. But essentially, it's against a conspiracy, and a conspiracy between one or more than one person. So that means if a couple cops come to your door, well, quite technically speaking, they're committing a conspiracy. So, and there are strong laws against conspiracies. So, yeah. Let me go ahead and pull that up so I can better explain it, because I did not do it justice.
Oh, this is interesting.
Yeah, the sign itself essentially is telling you that if you force your way past, then well, let's just use the cops for instance. Cops come to my door and they go past that sign. They not only owe me money, but they are going to get criminal action against them because they are directly violating my rights and basically committing a conspiracy against me.
From if you have like a do not trespass sign.
Yes.
And what was
And
on
don't
your door?
What's that?
And what's on your door?
No trespass sign.
Oh, okay.
And don't get it confused with trespassing. That's a legal loophole. Don't use trespassing. Trespass.
Okay, no trespass. Okay.
That's right. The ing allows for like electric companies and shit like that. Trespass keeps everyone out.
See, and you know what? That's what Alice, that just came into the chat, has been saying, that we need to use their legal terms against them so that we can try to stop them from messing with us. So that's where you're like saying we need to be careful with the words that we use. What's the difference between trespass and trespassing, though?
Trespassing, like I was saying, when you put up a no trespassing sign, you are allowed, basically you are allowing for like electric companies and stuff like that to come onto your property to check the meter, stuff like that. No trespass basically puts a stop to even that. It's a legal loophole that allows the trespassing, allows them to basically circumvent your protection. It's like putting up a magical spell to keep out the bad demons. Well, you just erase part of the spell, so now the demons can get in. Hello, awesome Alice. Welcome.
Welcome. So y'all are talking about our learning the legal terms.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I've been talking about that because nobody's been really talking about it. I see a lot of people talking about this and that, but there haven't been like talking about the tactics, like the importance of knowing what the word means and how it branches out, because every law we have has subcodes underneath it, and you know what I mean by the subcodes. Like I'm in Georgia, so if you go to, there'll be a Georgia code, and then it'll have an A, B, C, D, and then 1, 2, 3, and then the way they got our laws to like simplify them. They need to dumb down our actual law system where the common man can understand it, where we don't need lawyers anymore.
Uh,
They use
um,
Latin on purpose to keep us ignorant from the laws. That is a tactic, right?
yes, absolutely.
So,
It's a dead language, but yet they use it to describe mottos and different areas of the law itself. Now, everyday person, you walk up and say corpus juris secundum. They're not going to know what the hell that means. They're going to look at you like you just spoke in tongues. But if you tell them it in plain words, then it's less easy for them to complicate it if it's in
And
plain
manipulate
words.
and manipulate
Exactly.
us.
well, it's
So
like they call it layman terms. They
yeah,
call it layman terms because of the word, the first word in the front is lame. Lame is like a lame duck.
yeah.
Anyone can understand it.
Well, see, and that's the way our government was originally structured, is so that every law was easy to understand by every person, from the statesman who represents the state for the national, to a farmer who's never been in school. It's easy to understand because it's God's law, it's natural law, it's common law, and that's what they have bastardized. They've taken it and put so many complexities on top of it that now we don't even recognize it anymore.
Yeah,
When
the
did
subsections of the law.
Like the
Because
18 US
that's
codes.
what I've been talking to Latin about. I've been talking to her about how there's loopholes. Do you realize every law that has been made was broken by who made them?
Yeah.
Like, isn't that crazy? When you look up every law, the reason we have DUI laws is somebody went out and committed a DUI and someone died. Oh, we need a law for that. We used
Yeah.
to have a law in South Carolina about the hot pies because, the little kids would run and get the hot pies because you know how they used to put the pies out on the windowsill and then
Uh,
they made that a crime because somebody got burnt by one of the pies.
yeah. Same
Yeah,
thing
and
with
then
McDonald's and their hot coffee. Yeah.
yeah, because they gave her the hot coffee and she had damage to her female parts because it was scorching hot. So they put a dummy label on it. They got dummy labels on all kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And it has to do with the lawsuits. Did you ever look up the dumbest lawsuits? There was a guy that broke in someone's house now, and while he was breaking in the house, he went back out the window and broke his leg while exiting the window, right? Do you know he went to jail for breaking and entering and then turned around and sued their homeowner's insurance and won for damages?
Mm, the beginning
Ain't
of
that
the end.
something crazy? That's that. If somebody get injured on your property, regardless if they're committing a crime or not, your insurance will cover them.
That's
That is
crazy.
crazy, isn't it?
Yes. It's very crazy and
So
the opposite of what it's supposed to do. The
yeah,
object of the law itself is to protect the people.
yeah, it's
And
supposed to be it's protect the individual rights of the person.
that's
But
right.
what we've got going on is they're allowing people's feelings and to in what is it? Infringe on other people's rights in
That's
so
right.
many ways. And we got to get away from the feeling basis and we got to get back to the actual structure of how our law were made. We got too many gray areas. And you know what the gray areas are.
Yeah,
It's
the
where they
gray.
can make an excuse
Yeah.
for an action.
Yeah, it's that's perfectly said. They put the gray areas in there so they can manipulate them later. Um, our laws, like I said, were supposed to be simple. Everybody knew them because it was basically as simple as remembering the Ten Commandments. And if you
Yeah, it's
had
based on those principles.
right, and if you had argument with a specific dude about his tree hanging over on your lawn, or maybe the tree fell and broke his fence, and they're arguing back and forth and stuff like that, it's supposed to be settled between those two people. If they can't, for some reason, get that settled between the two people, then you go to the sheriff, and the sheriff helps settle it. If that doesn't work, then they bring that to the General Assembly, and the Assembly will help settle it. And when the Assembly decides on something, it is final. There is no other law or no other court that can
Branch.
supersede the Assembly.
Yeah, because we're like a tree, okay? We were supposed to have a solid trunk. Our trunk was supposed to be our laws, our government, and everything, and it was all supposed to be fed by the people. But what happened was we got so many people with so many ideas, and then they started to attack the Constitution, started to like add more and more onto the Constitution. It only had so many amendments. And then they went and yeah, you can change, you can add to the Constitution, but you cannot take away from the Constitution the basis of it. Like
Right. Well, it actually takes a
the
special
way they
session to
have,
change it.
yeah, it takes a special session to change it. Just like when they implemented Roe versus Wade, the reason they were able to do that is because they took it to the highest courts, and they made a what is it? They added an amendment, but there was nothing in the Constitution that actually made that legal, where it's legal, because we have laws against murder. You know, if people want to be technical, it goes against the Constitution. See, the problem with, I was watching this thing about what was in the Constitution before it was written, and there used to be, before they actually wrote the Constitution, it was called inheritable rights. That means that if you were born on this land, you were given these birthrights, which is the Constitution. All right. But then they changed it to inalienable rights. That means that you couldn't inalienate them. But Thomas Jefferson put inherited rights. That's what
Do
he.
you still have that? I'd like to see that.
I'm gonna have to find it. But there was a guy that was breaking it down on, because they have it in the actual, you know, the government, they keep all the documents. It
Yeah.
was the first draft of the actual Constitution, and it was meant to say inherited, and then they changed it to inalienable, because the Constitution took a couple times of writing it, because you know
Yeah.
they went through a process of it before they signed it. It
Yeah.
wasn't
See,
just wrote up. They proofread it and then made decisions on what they were going to put on it and everything. It was a process. It wasn't like one day they wrote it and then they signed it. It was a process. But
yeah,
I will
everybody had
find
to
that.
okay it.
Yeah, they had to come to an agreement, like what you were saying, an assembly. They had to assemble
Exactly.
together, and people don't realize what assembly is. Assembly is just our right to travel, to gather with family. It doesn't necessarily mean protest. A
That's
lot of
right.
people think that the assembly is protest. It's not that. It's more than that. It gives us the right to travel. All these things that they're doing, I don't want to say certain words because I already know they'll trigger these people. We're on Daytube. It's not YouTube. It's supposed to be YouTube, y'all, but it's Daytube. But I'll find that thing and I'll send it to Ladin so she can send it to you. But there was a whole bunch of the historians were looking at the breakdown of the actual Constitution, the Bills of Rights, and how it was broke down and how they went through the process. It's all in our what is it? I think it's in Washington D.C. where they got all the documents.
Hmm.
But
The
you also
archives.
know back in them days they burned a lot of stuff.
Oh,
So
they
there's
burned a
been
lot of stuff
documents
everywhere.
lost.
Almost every capital has burned. And it was
Yeah.
basically to get rid of the old documents. Do me a favor. My email is vex@post.com. Go ahead and send it to me that way if you can.
Let me write it down. Hold on.
Sure thing.
That. So what do you do on this? Like on your YouTube?
Well, it used to be a kind of just a hangout stream in the beginning, talking about various things that were going on in our, political structure and a lot of griping.
Oh,
But
well, it's called expression.
yeah,
Let's use
But
a nice word. You
but
was
now I
expressing your grievances. How about that? Freedom of speech.
that's right. But on Friday nights, I make it completely about rights and helping people realize that they have not been taught about their rights. I want to make it completely educational, have people come up and ask me questions, and I'll answer them the best I can. I'm not the smartest person in the world, but I'll do my best, I promise. On Monday nights, I do another show, which is more speculative. Talks about different other things. I've talked about UFOs. I've talked about medical, uh, using supplements to make everyone healthier. Just
You gotta
doing
be
whatever I
careful with
can.
those. You gotta be careful with the vitamins and stuff because like I was just talking about that on Facebook, right? I was doing a live about mental health is wealth and about lowering your stress levels and everything. And they banned me for 30 days. So I
Yeah.
I don't know what we can and can't talk about, but it gets like old. But you be talking about the herbal supplements that are good for you.
Hmm.
So
Absolutely.
basically, you talk about everything.
As much as possible. If I feel that people don't have a common knowledge of it, I want to talk about it. I want people to realize that most of the problems in their life, in their personal life, feeling sick and stuff like that, I can tell from experience of what I've gone through. I used to be sick at least twice a year, very minimum. Twice a year, I would be sick, no matter what, every year. And then as soon as I started supplementing my diet and changing it around a little bit, adding supplements that I've been lacking, I haven't been sick in over 8 years.
Oh, that's awesome. I had
And
I had to go through the same thing. Like, I had to exclude things out of my diet to find out what was going on. You know, we eat so much junk these days. There's no kind of nutritional value in it.
Oh, you mean
exactly.
not only is it just processed food, but even like the fruits and vegetables,
The
they're not as
preservatives.
they're not as healthy. The fruits and vegetables are not as healthy as the ones that our grandparents grew up on because they pick them too early and I don't know what it is with spinach, but spinach in a bag tastes like metallic-y. But if you grow your own spinach in your backyard, I don't know if it's the type of spinach, but I grew spinach in my backyard and it was like really delicious.
Hmm.
And it was sweet. It wasn't like metallic-y flavored. It's
What
just
Well,
was the email address?
vex@post.com. Real simple. I have it on my name, for my name on the screen
Oh,
here.
okay, okay. Yeah, it's good to hear something besides what it's good to talk about besides what's in mainstream. I mean, I guess I wore out on that. That's why I started talking about, what are our rights? What can you say? What can you know what like a lot of people don't realize that 14th Amendment is very, very precise. It's the right to refuse. And
Yeah,
a lot of people don't realize they have that right.
that's right.
Even in the medical field, because I was doing EKG technician and I'd done medical billing, so I had to learn their language. And the doctors get so pissed when you can speak their language because how they'll come in and talk to you and then they'll go in the hallway and they'll start talking to each other and amongst each other and they think that you don't understand them. They hate when you can understand them. Same thing with lawyers.
Yeah. Um, Here in the past year or so, um, I've had to go into the hospital. Well, it was right there at the beginning of the COVID thing. It was while everybody still knew nothing, everything was up in the air. I was in the hospital for a collapsed lung. And I used that time. I was just learning about the assembly and doing a lot of deep dives right before I went into the hospital. I was listening to Alex Jones on the regular and looking up stuff that he was talking about and finding out a lot of truth. Uh, and
Alex
so,
Jones is wild, man.
yeah, well, he's
Hey,
actually the one that got me into doing the supplements and stuff like that. I was like, all right, I'll try it. And I'm very scientifically oriented, so I treated it as like a science experiment. Let's see what happens if I don't change my diet, don't uh, do anything out of the ordinary that I'd normally do. I do the same thing I always do, and I'll take this stuff and see what changes. So I got the iodine, and I started doing that, and I was fat, and I started losing fat off me just like it was melting off me, and I'm like, okay. And then I watched Alex Jones, and he was talking about iodine, and started saying, yeah, and you'll lose fat and all this stuff, you'll burn it up, and all that. And I was like, okay, cool. And he goes, but that's just the side effect. It fills up your gland and keeps the bad stuff out, and plus it's something that your body needs anyway. If you don't have any iodine, you will die, quite frankly. So any iodine in that we can get will help, but it's the real pure iodine that we need because it's easily absorbed. I mean, I'm sure you guys have all heard Alex Jones talk about it, so I'll spare you. But it was something that I treated as a science experiment. And I, for 1 week, took one drop every day of iodine. And then the second week, I took 2 drops of iodine. And then the third week, I did the recommended 3 drops of iodine every day. And I noticed that next thing I knew, I was down like 40 pounds. And I was feeling background. I'm 50 years old, and quite frankly, I lived my life as a sloth, eating junk food and fast foods and smoking cigarettes and just totally abusing my body. So I was not very, I mean, for my size, I was active, but I was really non-motivational, didn't give a shit, had no spark in me, really. But as soon as I started doing this, I felt everything changing. Even the way I was thinking, I was clearer in my thoughts, which really helped because I wasn't very, well, we'll just say unfoggy. I was very foggy all the time. And I was...
Carbohydrates can cause the actual fog, the fog brain.
Oh, yeah. And I was eating all the wrong foods. So I was just compounding it. Not only was I moving physically slow, but I was mentally slow.
So you had sludge or what? You ever seen a car?
Yeah.
And you get too much, you don't change the oil.
Yep.
And you start to sludge. I know you've seen the commercials where they tell you to change your oil because you got sludge in the motor.
Yep. And I was running on nothing but sludge.
We eat the wrong things. That's what happens to our brain. It's like we're in slow motion.
Exactly. And that's the way I was for hell. I'd say pretty much, during my childhood, not so much, but as I got into my teens and stuff like that, I really, really saw it hit. And
so the iodine helps
it helps
I haven't ever watched much of Alex Jones. I just know that his jar of bean, right, is getting full. Okay.
That's right.
All right. And what does the iodine, like when you take iodine, which organs does it help? Like when he said it was refilling something, what was it refilling?
Nothing, you were going to say something?
Oh, it's the thyroid. The iodine helps your thyroid make the proper hormones because on Google it says that. Well, I knew that iodine was in salt, and I knew that it was like to help us to not get goiter, right? When
what?
Like I think it's like when the thyroid gland like gets really huge, and then you look like a frog.
Yeah.
Like neck.
Well,
yeah,
it's
the thyroid's in the neck.
Like people that my mama has that hyper, it's where they have bulging eyes. You can tell who has thyroidism because of the shape of their eyes. If they have an inactive, they have the sunken eyes, they have the swollen face. There's different traits to thyroidism. So
and that can all be solved with...
You can fix that with the iodine.
Yes, but you also have to consider that your thyroid may be damaged already.
Yeah,
that's
my mom's
the one problem.
Damaged. She's got to take the Synthyroid.
Yeah, there's yeah. See, a lot of people they have they get their iodine medication from their doctor, and the iodine will come in probably a pill form. That is the
Synthyroid is
lowest
probably
form,
iodine, ain't it?
huh?
I wonder what the synthyroid is made out of. Because that's what
It
my mom takes.
well, it's anything synthetic is not good for the body. And forgot to
Yeah,
say
I
hello,
know that.
Sean. Good to see you. But
So
yeah,
the
it
iodine's for your thyroid.
yes, and it also goes and circulates throughout the rest of your body, helps clean up things. For instance, one of my issues, like I was talking about, was foggy brain syndrome. Um, Iodine actually clears the sludge that accumulates in your brain.
Okay.
So it is actually scientifically proven that a child going through elementary school through high school who takes iodine will have a higher IQ than the rest of the children who aren't on iodine.
Well, you know what, my son, I have a 7-year-old, right, and an 11-year-old, and they crave salt. Okay,
It's
like the iodine in the salt, like they like salt. And I was wondering what it was, because I get that ionized salt. Could it be
yep,
that they need iodine? Is that why
yes,
they want salt on everything?
yes.
Because I
It's
remember they used to put sodium. They used to give the military sodium tablets. I
yes.
know you're old enough to remember that. Then they stopped it because they put so much sodium in the actual food, but that's not normal sodium, is it?
No, it's not. See, I think it was back in what the 50s. They did a study that I could be wrong on the date, but they did a study basically about iodine. That's one of the reasons why they bound it to the salt and gave it to everybody. It's because they learned that a steady source of iodine, even though the stuff that they put into the salt was not a purest form, they knew that even a little bit would have beneficial effects on the mental capacity of people. That's when we had a big boom of inventors and stuff like that right after that. Think about it. Check out your history and find out. Correlate the dates, because I obviously haven't done it, but I have seen the pattern of it. Yeah. Sean said it. Iodine is good halogen. There are bad halogens that are introduced into our systems, which clog up and make our cells malfunction. That's where a lot of our problems come from, health-wise. Is all this additives, all the processed foods and stuff like that have elements in it that clog our systems and don't allow our cells to function properly.
So we
What you?
are literally what we eat.
Yes, ma'am.
I know you've heard that saying before. You are what
Absolutely.
you eat. So if we eat junk, we become the junk.
Exactly that. It was just like what
Okay.
exactly what I
Okay.
was saying. There was
You're making my
probably
brain. You're making my brain work. I like you, man. You're making my little hamster that is in there. He's having fun right now. He's
and is
chasing the light.
yeah, information is for everyone. And to me growing up, all this was common knowledge to me. I didn't realize it because I was, inundated with the sludge. But this was all common knowledge. This is stuff I'd heard from my grandma, and she heard it from her mom and her grandmother, and all the way back. And it didn't come together until basically I cleared out the sludge in my brain, and then it all clicked into place. Now I have such a clear picture of reality that if I would have been talking to my older self 20 years ago, I'd think I was a nutcase. But with the climate we're all involved with right now, yeah, I'm not so nutty after all.
That's the beautiful thing about finding like-minded people. You realize you're not so alone.
hmm
It's just we have to get out there and talk to each other. I think that's what we're missing is the actual connection of actually sitting down and talking.
Absolutely. And that's part of the plan also that they have against us is the propaganda that's keeping us all separated. I mean, even our cell phones today, we're all in such high connection with everything else that we're so alone in reality. I mean, think
Yeah,
about it. I can connect to, right now, there's 4 people total. I connect to 4 people right here all at once, and yet I know none of you for real. We can have a conversation, sure, but you don't know who I am.
you don't know. You don't know me, but I'm 4'8", so I'm a mighty little midget.
Everybody's
But
got to be
it's good
somewhere.
to actually speak to you. You know, you've got a beautiful brain. When I hear
Thank you.
people that actually think and speak and critical think, oh my God, it's just like, wow. I feel like, you ever seen Bill and Ted?
Yeah.
You remember Bill and Ted?
Oh, yeah.
Like, wow. And they do the guitar. I'm waiting on the guitar to come in. Beep.
Excellent.
It's
Oh,
excellent.
can't, can't you add that clip? Do you like
What?
Ted?
What'd you say, Latin?
You know how like Trey and Hood they add like those little when people donate money, like the Hulk
Yeah.
smash girl, they add in like little funny clips. It's
Yeah.
hilarious.
Yeah, that would be a fun one. Have to just do the guitar. But yeah, I'm not that high production value. I don't know how to do that stuff unless I get it set up ahead of time. But
Yeah,
yeah,
I think what they do is they get clips and like they have it set up. I think they're doing it on a computer because if you're doing it on your phone, it's not as accessible.
right.
Because I don't have like my live on my YouTube because I don't have a computer set up. I was wondering why people with like a small amount of subscribers, because I've seen quite a few, that was able to get live. But if you do it on your phone, you gotta have like 1,000 subscribers before you can go live.
No, in all
It's
actuality, I'm using
crazy.
StreamYard.
StreamYard,
Yep.
you can do that on your phone.
Well, I'm not on the phone. I'm on a PC. But yeah, you can do it on your phone.
Yeah,
You just
but
have
they
to
won't
get
let you link
StreamYard.
it up.
Well,
I
see,
do StreamYard on my phone.
Do
yeah,
you?
yeah.
Yeah.
Are you a ginger?
No, I'm not.
You got red hair.
No, that's just color.
Oh, it's just color? I was
Yeah.
about to say hello to my fellow ginger nation.
Yeah,
What
but I use StreamYard and then I stream it to YouTube.
is that what you do?
Yep.
See,
That way I
I
bypass that.
haven't understood the whole technology of all this, man.
It's not really that difficult. I mean, you found your way up here on the panel. It's really, you've been through the difficult part.
So basically, you download the Restream
The
and
StreamYard.
StreamYard.
Yeah.
But there's also a Restream, but that one's I couldn't get on that one.
I don't know about
It's
that
too
one.
hard.
I got
There's so
it.
many apps, man. I mean, you're right. We're too connected to everything. I feel like we're in the Matrix. Okay? Like
Mhm.
they have a movie, I don't know if you've seen it, but it has to do with I think it's 2000 something where everybody is linked to the internet and there's like people that aren't logged in and the government pays them to stay logged in and they live in a virtual world and then like they only live to like 40 something years old because they don't do anything. They just log in, eat and log in and then they'll go shower or whatever. I can't remember what movie it is, but there is a movie about people that in the future all they do is log in.
I know there's elements of that in many different movies.
Yeah, but there
Um,
was this one I just seen not too long ago. It was on Amazon because I have Amazon Prime, and there was about a future where there was this group that was trying to get people unplugged. Like they were going in there and the government found out and then they made them the enemy because
Hey
they were trying to
Alice,
unplug people.
Was it because the elites were stealing the others' lifespan, like their juice, and living longer, and then the rest they just threw them away?
No, it's just like because people had became plugged into the system, like all they did was VR all day. Okay, you think about how that deteriorates someone's body.
Yeah.
They weren't brushing their teeth, they weren't eating properly, they were just plugged in. They weren't literally plugged in like with wires. It was a VR thing that everybody just sat in a chair and it logged them in. And if you died on there, you really died.
Yeah. Well, it makes sense. I mean, the Matrix analogy goes right along with it and shows us an illustration of basically how they feel about us. I mean, think about the Mr. Anderson character. That's the government. That's the
You're
long
talking
arm of the
about
government.
Mr. What is John what was his name?
Keanu Reeves.
Not
No.
the agent John.
Oh,
What was
Anderson.
it?
Yeah, Agent Anderson.
Agent, yeah. And then they
Or
had
no,
the lady.
Anderson was Keanu Reeves' character. Smith. That's the name.
Yeah, Mr.
Smith.
Smith.
Yeah, I got it
Have
mixed
you
up.
ever watched Utopia? Like the actual there's a show called Utopia. It has to do with comic books.
Mm,
There's a guy called the Mr. Rabbit. They're trying to find Mr. Rabbit. He's a mad scientist. They have a mad scientist and everything. If you haven't seen it, watch it. It reminds me of what's going on right now. Like the way they set it up. It came out in Britain and then they redid it in the American way. But the British version is more in depth and it makes you think more. But the
mm,
American, it's just one season and it just breaks everything down because, Americans want to cut to the chase. They don't want you thinking. But
uh,
that's what I've realized with the films is like in other countries, they do their movies like we used to.
yep.
They gave you a room for your imagination. You remember the black and white films?
Oh
You
yeah.
had to use your imagination.
Which
Now there
promoted
is
critical
no
thinking.
imagination.
Yeah. Yeah. The old black and whites, even the silent ones, it encouraged critical thinking, which enabled the brain to grow. They knew this. That's why they have taken steps to go against it. They've made everything so, I mean, even down to the flicker rates on our screens are made to hypnotize and keep us engulfed in the online experience, which, like you were just alluding to, it deteriorates your mind, it deteriorates your body, and you care less about good in general. I mean, you don't have the morals you would if you weren't hooked up to the Matrix.
Well,
All
you
this
have you
stuff is
looked
designed
at
to tear us apart.
have you looked at how the effects of seeing traumatic things over and over, how it affects people's minds? How have you noticed like how the kids they don't or people I've seen more people pick up the phone and videotape and stuff instead of actually acting like helping the person. They'll sit there and video people getting hurt
Yes.
instead of being like, hey, that's a bad idea.
Oh
Back
yeah.
before phones and we had all these cameras, people would be like, don't do that, it's a bad idea. But it's like as soon as they made the camera on the phone accessible to anyone and everyone, we got the insanity of TikTok, we got the
Hmm.
insanity of Facebook, and I've thought about going on TikTok, making me one, and pointing out some stuff. I'm not too sure if I'm gonna do it yet because
Yeah.
I want to stir the pot. Okay, I want to bring some logic back. People talk about think before it's illegal. How about bring logic back?
Yeah. I'm right with you on that. Logic is one of my founding stones. If it wasn't for my logic, I'd probably be a retarded mess.
But I've looked at the First, the Fifth, and the 14th Amendment. okay, in the Constitution,
Mhm.
because those portray to what's going on right now. What other constitutional law you think that they're infringing on? Because I'm trying to do some research to look at every aspect of what they have been implementing, right? With
Hmm.
everything they've been doing since the beginning, 2020. I've been trying to figure out what all laws they have, like, of the Constitution, they have been infringing on.
Well,
I know it's the 1st, the 5th, and the 14th. Do you think there's any other ones?
as a matter of fact, I don't mean to, basically shorten your research because I would continue looking into that. But it's easy to just assume all of them.
All
I
of them?
mean, every damn one of them. They want to destroy our Constitution. I mean, so much so that I could ask you the question, which Constitution are you exactly talking about? Because they've changed it so many times.
They've added to it. I mean, why can't we just go back to the original document? See, that's why I think we must assemble as people, because these people don't even listen to us no more. Look at the school board meeting. It's like they give the people a certain amount of time to speak. When did they start that crap?
Well,
Like, if the parents wanted to speak and have their grievance with the school board, why, when did they start that? The time frame thing. It's
well,
like when they went to virtual, we lost even more rights.
yeah. I mean, enabling people to talk back encourages critical thinking. And if you're telling people who are already brainwashed on, say, a school board that you don't like what they're doing and stuff like that, well, that might get the people on the school board thinking critically also. And, well, if all these people are against what we're doing, but I think it's good, I could be wrong about this. And if I'm wrong about this, then what else is wrong about this? Oh my God, I have such a conundrum. I have a fight in my brain. I don't know what to do. It's short circuiting. This is what they don't want. They don't want people. The school boards are people placed there to run your children and your life at a local level. The schools are not teaching your children what they need to know to be working productive members of society. They are teaching them to be
A part of the rat race.
dependent on the
Yeah, a
government.
part of the rat race. The government. We're supposed to be chasing the cheese, but
Well,
where is the cheese leading us?
I'll tell you, into a slaughterhouse because they
You
consider
know?
us cattle. I want you to go look up a website whenever you have some time to spend reading, and I think it'll open your eyes up greatly. I'm putting it in the chat right now. It's national-assembly.net. This is what I'm using my Friday night shows for, to steer people towards that, to who are like you, and you'll be met with a lot of like-minded individuals, and you'll be well talking to a lot of these people that are smarter than I am, and they'll be able to give you some really good details, and you'll be able to connect with people locally in your state, maybe even in your county.
So you've been trying to connect everybody to the assembly, the different assembly. Is that what you've been trying to do?
Yeah, what this is basically taking up where our founding fathers left off. Teaching people what they should already know. Getting them to realize that we have the power and not them. And that's the simple. That's the wrong one. But that's the simplest way to put that. We are completing what our founding fathers started, and it means going back to the original constitutions for the national as well as your states. Bringing it back
Basically,
to
getting the pork out. Getting the pork out.
yes.
You hear the Congress people talk about there's too much pork. Well, when are we gonna slice the pork up and make some bacon? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, with not so much of that fat.
Yeah, we need to cut the fat. We need to put them on a diet.
Well, like what I was explaining earlier was our original government, our founding fathers, the way they originally designed it, it wasn't designed for the federal government to be this permanent Goliath. They were supposed to basically be elected statesmen or appointed statesmen from each individual state who got together to put forth the state's agenda, essentially. They were there to convey the state's word. That's it. And as soon as they did that, they came back home and went back to work.
You know
Whatever
what?
they did.
I think we as Americans have got lazy, and they
Yes.
have distorted our thinking into, we've got this, you just sit back, we'll take care of it. And because they've been like indoctrinating people that the government, we got to do, the government is the head, and they basically convinced the people that the government is on top. Okay, they've convinced the majority of people because they haven't taught them their rights in school. They don't teach the Constitution in school no more. I mean, if you look at what they're teaching the kids today, it's pointless. There's no value in it. They don't teach them trades. They teach them to go to college. Then they go to college and they go in debt and they gain nothing while they're there.
Here, I ask you a question real quick. How many branches of government are there?
There's supposed to be 3.
Supposed to be?
Supposed to be.
What would you
You
say if
got
I...
the executive branch.
Go ahead.
The executive branch, that's the president and them. Then you have the House and the Senate. Well,
Here, I'll go ahead
you
and...
put me on the spot, man.
No problem. No problem. I'll go ahead and say what it is.
Isn't
It's
it
the
3
executive,
branches, though?
the executive, legislative, and judicial.
That's
Now,
it. Okay, there's 3
yeah,
though.
right.
Okay,
Eh,
I got that right.
But what would you say if I said that there's actually 5?
Yeah, they've added some because it's the state.
Actually, they've taken away 2.
The We the People were part of it.
That's right. Here, I'm getting ready to screen share. I'll go ahead and put this up on the screen so you can see the illustration for it.
Well, with Biden as president, he has made it basically just an executive branch because the things that he is pulling is not even legal, if you think about it.
All right. Can you see what's up on the screen?
I can now.
Okay. Okay. Right here, this big circle encompasses all the rest of them. Okay. You've seen this one right here, the executive, the legislative, and the judicial. And then it goes into this, what's called the grand juries. You've heard that being used before, but it's not a grand jury of we the people. It's a grand jury of the corporate structure. Now, surrounding all this is that big circle I pointed out earlier. We the people in General Assembly.
Yeah, that's the way it's supposed to work.
That's right. It's we the people. We tell the counties what to do. Then the counties tell the states what to do, or what the county tells the states itself what to do. And then the states tell the federal government what to do. That is the order of America, of we the people. Anything other than that is null and void. And what we are experiencing right now is just that. All the stuff, like you said before, you only knew of the 3 branches. Well, you're not alone. This is something that we have to explain to a lot of people, so don't feel awkward about it at all.
Well, I knew that it was supposed to be, regardless of the branches, we are supposed to be the head of them.
That's right.
Not them the head of us. They are public servants. I understood that point, but it's like, no matter how much we talk to these people, they don't hear us. Like, I called Kemp's office. They can't give you no answers. They don't ever reply back. I mean, you never get to actually speak to the governor. I mean, I don't even know how you can speak to him. It's like you're not allowed.
Right. And that's part of the ruling class. Well, we're not supposed to have a ruling class here in America. As a matter of fact, we fought a war to get rid of it. It's called
Yeah,
the Revolutionary War.
yeah,
We didn't want the king's input from England all the way over here, so we fought.
yeah,
And it
because
was,
King Biden is. We need to dethrone him.
well, well, technically he's not on a throne. He's
He's
just
acting like
acting
it.
like it. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's just acting like it. That's the whole deal with this. Is all this is political theater. You want to know what the real truth about it is? Trump didn't lose. They know he didn't lose. He didn't lose. And he is still president of the United States. He just can't take the office, so to speak. I would bank on this. Biden does not have the nuclear football. I'd put the rest of my wages on it for the rest of my life.
You know, it's kind of telling when he's using props, okay, to take a shot, take a injection. All right, did you see the prop he's using?
Everything
Like,
he uses
it's
is.
like it's not. He's like he's not even there. They had the. I mean, I feel like we're in two different worlds, kind of like you turn on the TV, there's one world, then you go out in reality, and it's another world. Like when you actually see people and speak to them, and I can
Mhm.
tell who watches TV and who does not because I don't watch. Like I'll check out YouTube, but I don't watch regular TV. The only reason I hear about the news a lot is because my dad, he stays informed because he's an older generation and they were all about being informed on the news. I'm the generation where I got away from the TV and I went outside and explored. You know,
Well, I'll be honest. I'll be perfectly honest with you right now, Alice. You're the exact person that I look for to recruit into the assembly. So if you are interested in basically becoming a part of the solution, let's go ahead and get you moving on that. If you're not opposed to it.
well, I've been thinking about getting a part of something because it's like I have children and I'm just watching what's going on and I'm like everything is crumbling and it's gonna take us coming together. Like I've been talking
Absolutely.
to some people in Georgia because I know quite a few and they're sick of it too. And I've been there, you know, Latin showed me the assembly, the National Assembly thing, and I've been sending it to people. I don't know if they've actually been listening, but I told them, you know, we've got the only way we're going to change this is we've got to change it. Well, if we don't, we cannot comply with tyranny. There's
Have
no
you
way of
gone?
getting out of tyranny by complying. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. You're dead on that. Have you actually signed up on the National Assembly site yet?
I tried to figure that out. I'm gonna have to get with Laden more on that because I've been trying to figure all this out and do homeschool. I already come to the conclusion the only way to fight the school board is just detach from it.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
think that we have to start self-governing. Okay, we were built on self-governing, and we have to start to self-govern. And once they
Yeah.
see more people self-governing, and they see that we're getting it together, and we realizing what we can do, oh, it's going to get interesting. Okay.
Hey, Alice, are you on Discord?
I'm not on there, but I'm going to download it because Aladdin was telling me to. Aladdin is my friend across the states, man.
Yeah,
She's
that's
awesome.
cool.
She's an amazing person, man.
Yeah, I like her. She's got good brain on her shoulders too.
I told her that too. I said, "You have a beautiful brain. I love people with brains." You
Well,
know,
we'll go.
when I was a kid, being a nerd was a problem. Now that I'm an adult, I'm like, yeah, it's a good thing I use my brain. Because I see all these people running around.
Well, go ahead and get with Latin Patriot and um, get that Discord set up, and I'll have her send you an invite from my server as well as hers. I mean, I'm sure she'd invite you to hers. But and I use that server to basically keep people in touch, and from there I'll be able to get you in touch with hopefully people in your state, and get
Yeah,
you
because I
into.
sent something to an email. The National Assembly had an email. I sent something to it, but they never replied back. I guess because they didn't know who was sending it. But I
You
tried
have to,
to
you have
contact
to
them.
be in that regard. You have to be kind of patient with them because they get inundated with emails all the time, and they have to sift through every one of them. And there's a vetting process. We ask you a bunch of questions, and go according to your answers and all that stuff. We're just trying to keep a security aspect going on this because we have a lot of
But you
people that
have
do
to.
not. Yeah, a lot of people do not want to see this succeed.
Yeah, because there is like I was telling her that there's plants. People put plants, and you know what kind of plants I'm talking about.
Oh yeah, I mean, feds are everywhere. They're actually committing the crimes and
Well,
trying to get people to take
it's
the
not
blame for it.
just them. It's not just them.
Yeah.
They have double agents that they'll portray themselves as a certain just to get in. How you think we got infiltrated to begin with? They presented themselves as one thing, and then when they slipped in, that's when they started to change everything.
Well, yeah,
That's
that's
why I focus on policies because, like, the way the policies, depending on what the policy is, depends on how it affects us. A lot of
yeah.
people don't look at the policies, but our
They
policies is what changes everything. To
yeah
me,
they've
that's what I've
infiltrated
been looking at.
every aspect of our society. I mean, all over the place. I mean, one of the first places they infiltrated was the schools, and not necessarily the grade schools and stuff like that. I'm talking about the medical schools, the colleges, and then they worked their way down to the high schools and city councils and stuff like that. They've placed people everywhere, all over the place, just to keep control over it, keep control over the people, and that also goes for them infiltrating the militia groups. Hell, we've heard about them for years, being infiltrated by FBI and stuff like that. Any type of group. Hell, in today's day and age, every patriot group has feds somewhere, just
Yeah,
to make,
that
just to wait for you.
why though? Why is the question? I
Because
mean,
control and addition to control, population control. um this It's all about control. And you've heard about the Georgia Guidestones, right?
yeah, I've actually went there. I broke down the math of it, and it equaled up to when I did the math. I added the languages, I added the stones, and it equaled 4, which
Mm.
is the 4 horsemen. And then I looked at RC Christian, and then I thought about it. I was like, what's Christian and what's RC? And then I thought about it, Roman Catholic,
Yes.
because I've been doing some research on, the rabbit hole. I am Alice, okay? So I do follow the White Rabbit and see where he's going and see what he's at, what he's doing, But it's like the reason they put that there, if you look at the actual the location of it, it's like the highest point. They said it the people that built it was based on the apocalypse or something, because at the time that it was built, there was this theory that the world was going to end, and they've always had this theory that the world is going to end all through history. You remember when Y2K happened?
Oh yeah.
It said that everything was going to crash. I mean, my uncle went and bought I don't know how much stuff, okay? And I got him a shirt while I was in Florida. It said a Y2K complaint because he went in debt trying to, get ready for the big day.
Yep.
And then
Well,
we had
see.
the 2012 thing because of the Mayans
Uh-huh.
and, the climate craziness. If we went by the actual climate people, we wouldn't be here right now. If
That's
you do the
right.
research on it, I mean, we would have been gone. And if it was a real thing, then why people still buying houses on the beach front?
including Obama.
Yeah, why are they buying if we're going to be underwater?
Yeah, exactly. It none of it makes any sense, and
Common
any
sense.
regular
They got
thinking
common
people,
sense. They're not. They think we're so dumb.
yeah, well, that's the whole thing. I mean, you've heard about the dumbing down of society itself, and that part of that it encompasses our personal health, our mental health, and our souls. Really, they're trying to clog up all our personal systems,
Well,
and
when I was taking medicine, right? They had me on. I have PTSD. So they put me on a lot of medicine. You know what I realized once I got off all the medicine? I realized if they can control my mind, they physically were controlling me because I couldn't control my body. It started giving me seizures and stuff. So I stopped taking the medicine, and now I have complete control of my body.
there you go.
Okay? So if you think about it, if you can control the mind, you can control the body. And
Hmm.
that's why they want us on Facebook. They want us on things because the eyes are the way. What we put in front of our face matters. And it
Hmm.
will alter our reality and our perception.
It's just another form of propaganda.
Well, it's not just propaganda. It's like it's hypnosis. Kind of like you said, it hypnotizes us.
Oh, absolutely.
You remember those cartoons where they had the swirling eyes? You remember
Yeah.
the Twilight Zone?
Oh, yeah.
And it was always something to make you think, but it was like predictive programming.
Yes.
Like they were putting these thoughts in your head.
Yes.
Like
It's
the
just,
song. You be like a song get in your head and it sticks in your head and you're singing it and
yep.
you don't know why. But yeah, the rabbit hole goes, there's many, the black hole, the abyss.
Yeah. It turns out the rabbit hole isn't a hole. It's kind of just another universe.
Well, you think about Alice in Wonderland. When she's at the Mad Hatter and she's trying to drink the tea and he keeps keeping her from drinking the tea. What if she drank the tea and that's all she needed to do to wake up was drink that tea?
Hmm.
Like maybe the tea was the truth serum. And the
And
Mad
him,
Hatter didn't want her to have it. That's why
yeah,
he
he was
kept moving the
distracting her.
cup.
Yeah, he was distracting her from it.
But all you got to do is wake up. Is you have to just realize where you're at, because that's what Alice did in Wonderland. She realized she was in a dream, and she woke up. And you know what book she was reading when she woke up? Did you
Hmm.
ever look at the actual book she was reading?
She was
What was
watching
it?
a porn
It said
movie.
history. It said history. She was reading a history book.
Oh, a history. It wasn't porn. Okay.
No, was it? Oh, come on, lad. No, if you look at the actual picture of Alice in Wonderland, it says history. She was doing her history
Well,
and she
but
fell
it's
asleep.
because like I've heard stuff about Lewis Carroll, and what that book kind
Well,
of.
there is a dark part of that actual story if you look into it. All these fairy tale stories had a darkness that it
Oh, yeah.
started it. But people
Well,
don't ever look how deep how it really how deep it goes. Something came from something, and what they did was they glossed it up and made it where kids could watch it. But
oh
it's
yeah.
really, if you look at the deepness behind it,
They
it
also,
will scare you.
all those fairy tales started out as fireside stories to teach a lesson. For instance, Hansel and Gretel. Watch out for strangers out in the woods, type of thing. And
Or she'll eat you.
Aesop's fables and the Bible.
yes, all of these are meant to teach you lessons because their form of connecting with people was telling stories. You told stories to convey a message or a lesson. And it was easier to remember a story than it was for you to remember a list. So when you tell a couple of stories like that, especially the old ones, Yes, they're going to change throughout time, but they should keep to the tradition of the original root of the lesson. Um, be careful who you talk to. Don't talk to strangers. Just simple things like that. You told a story, you remember a story better. It's better than hell. They started that don't do drugs campaign back when I was in high school and stuff like that. And
Yeah, this is your brain's on drugs and you're frying
yeah,
them.
yeah. They try and tell short stories to get imprinted on somebody's brain so that they don't do it. Now, it
Like
didn't
a
work.
deterrent, like a deterrent, right?
Exactly. If you already know not to talk to strangers, you're not going to have a lot of problems with having to deal with talking to strangers as a kid. So you can told stories, so they're easy to remember. Hell, even in song form, they're easier to remember. So you remember them and you use it in your everyday life. Now, if you take that and add propaganda spin to it, then the story changes badly. And then it's more or less like you said, it changes from a cautionary tale to a Disney show.
That's because they leave out the warnings.
Exactly.
Like the
Where
7 dwarfs, like what is it, Snow White? She
Mhm,
eats the apple, and then the prince has to kiss her. But it's like it's a whole nother story before it became that. Just
mhm.
like Alice in Wonderland, it was like I think it what is it, Grimm? What is it, Grimm?
The Brothers Grimm.
Yes.
Brothers Grimm. If you look up Brothers Grimm, it tells you all these fairy tales, like what they were before they got all dolled up.
Yep.
And I think there was a guy, his name's 411. He was talking about the princess syndrome, and that's what a lot of women have. Like the damsel in distress kind of thing, where they think that they need to be in distress to get attraction for men.
Hmm.
Okay, what's going on is they're using everything as a distress,
Yep.
and it's getting like blown out of proportion, basically.
Don't believe the hype.
Exactly. Okay. It's like they spill the milk, and then what they do instead of getting the rag and cleaning it up is they take their hand and wipe it around and then put it all over their face and like, oh my god, they're so dramatic, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything's victim culture. Yeah.
But,
It's
with the iodine, you was talking about the iodine. What other things do you think would be good for the body? Like,
silver.
as with getting rid of the fog, not just I know the iodine, but what else is a good suggestion with that?
Hmm. Well, I know there's a couple of different products that Alex Jones sells out of his store that directly combat that. The best thing you can do is get an all-in-one vitamin and try cleanses, really. Because first you need to get the bad stuff out before you can put the good stuff in, because the bad stuff is taking up space in your body. So do some cleanses, but as soon as you do the cleanses, you need to give yourself I don't want to say multivitamin because most people think of the stuff in the grocery stores. The stuff in the grocery stores are crap. Do not buy that junk. You want the purest forms and stuff like that. And the best
Like the
forms
liquid vitamins. You're talking about like liquid vitamins.
well, there can still be liquid vitamins that you can get through a doctor, and they can give you shots and stuff like that. Some of that will be excellent stuff.
I'm
But
not too sure about the shots because I don't know what's in there. I mean, I'm a doubting Thomas when it comes to I'm scared of needles. Okay, I'm just gonna be real with you. I faint at the idea. I'd rather somebody stab me with a knife or shoot me besides stick me with one of them little bitty.
oh, I get it. I really do. I get it. And
Because I don't
even
know what's in
nowadays,
it.
yeah, even nowadays, it's even more scary because the vaccines themselves, uh, the science behind them is good. It's solid if it's done correctly. using a dead virus to inject into your body to prepare your body for fighting it as it is a live virus is a good thing. It works. It's scientifically proven. But what they are putting in this stuff is what you have to question, because they do not have your best interests at heart. Now, as far as the doctors like giving B12 shots and stuff like that, yeah, generally you're going to get the B12, just because some people actually can't take it like pill form or anything like that, because it won't be absorbed into the body correctly. So they take the shots of it to bolster their system, and so it's easily absorbed into their system. Same
I'm
thing with
glad I'm
much
not
of,
a diabetic because I couldn't do it, man.
yeah. Needles is something that I kind of got over a long time ago. So I'm not, I don't have a fear of them. I have a fear of what's in the needle.
That's what I'm talking about. Okay, like it's not the it's what's in the syringe is the question.
Right.
Like, is it really what they say? I mean, I've been through a lot, so it's like I don't know, man.
Well,
I just don't know, man.
up until a few years ago, I would be less questioning, but nowadays I don't even have a doctor anymore. Have well, basically I've fired him because I won't have a doctor anymore. I've found out that my knowledge of medicine is way better than his knowledge of medicine, and I've proved it on several occasions when I've went into his office and had conversations with him. He didn't even know that he had silver, colloidal silver in his thermometer holder
Are
to
you
keep it.
serious?
Yeah, he didn't even know that, and I had to school him on iodine. I
You
mean,
know,
and this is supposed to be a
I
doctor.
you know what I found with a lot of doctors, because I had kidney failure, right? And I kept telling them something was wrong with my kidney, and they didn't ever want to look at it. And
Hmm.
you know, you could tell the doctor, okay, I don't think that's good for me. But then the doctor come in and say, well, I'm the doctor. Well, I know my body. And it's like they don't listen to you because they think because they got this title. Doctors weren't meant to be like the all seer to tell you what's best for your body. If a person says that they know their body, you should listen to that person. See,
Yeah,
they try to put everybody in this box where this is what we should do with this person, and they try it with everyone. But nothing is a one size fit all because we all have different body chemistries.
exactly. I mean,
And to set it up, like I weighed like 105, I think 107 pounds. So what they give you, I can't take because I am the size of a kid. So, you know, that's what they found out with me was my BMI. And that's what
mhm,
I've been looking at with these shots, okay, that they're trying to give everybody. I said, did they go by the BMI or are they just giving everybody the same doses?
mm.
That's where I think all these side effects are coming from, to be honest with you. Because that's
Well,
what happened with me when they
uh,
gave me medicine. I'd have every rare side effect, and it was because they had not intentionally, but intentionally because they didn't go
They
by my weight.
carelessly did it to you by not looking at your
They didn't go by
BMI, your
weight.
height,
But
and yeah.
now a lot of people, when they get the same medicine I was getting, now they base it on their weight. They
mhm.
don't base it. They were basing it on my age, basically. Okay.
Well, you could simplify it by essentially looking at in general, like drinking alcohol. A large person is going to be able to drink more alcohol and handle it better than a small person. Same thing.
Yeah,
Simplified.
just like you wouldn't give a child a half gallon of liquor.
Right. It's too much for them. It'd fuck them
Yeah,
up.
it's just like with the Tylenol. That's where I understand. I mean, if they use the same basis as they do with children, you know, with the Tylenol, they say only give a child this much. It's like they stop doing it as soon as we become adults. Like once we become a certain age, they start basing it just on age instead of weight.
Yeah. The
That's
medical
why we have a lot
profession.
of health problems is because they're not basing it on the BMI.
Well, in the beginning, the medical profession, they were meant to help the body heal, so you didn't have to see them. That was the doctor's job. The doctor was to find out what was wrong and make you well, find the root cause and get rid of it. That's what it was. Nowadays, they're not the same doctors. They are taught something totally foreign to how we're supposed to be, how it's supposed to be in general. They do not go to the root cause. Hey, Kay, good to see you. Haven't seen you in a while. But they are not trained to find out the solution for what's ailing you. They are trained to essentially treat your symptoms, which your
Yeah.
symptoms are just a side effect. It's not the root problem. They don't go after the root problem. That's one of the reasons why I quit going to doctors and I won't go to hospitals unless I have like a broken leg or something. But I don't go to them because I know more than they do. That's just plain and short of it.
That's what I've been telling people that I know, like when I have an ache or pain and I'm like, oh, I can't go do something today, like I'm sore, then they're like, oh, we'll just take some pain medicine. And I said, well, I don't want to go do that activity today, and I'm not going to take ibuprofen because I want to know what my body's telling me so I don't overexert myself and hurt myself. And
Yes,
they don't solve the root of the problem. They just cover it up.
exactly that.
Well, just like you was talking about, okay, with the pain, people don't realize your body when it's in pain is letting you know something.
Hmm.
But a lot of people don't like the actual feeling of pain, so they numb it. But you know what they found out with the pain medicine is the reason people got addicted to it is because of the way it numbed the pain, and then when the pain did come back, it was like 10 times stronger because all it did was numb it,
Hmm.
and the actual cause did not disappear. It was just like a cover. It's
Well,
kind of
that
like with a lot of these illnesses we have going on, they don't ever, they go by the symptoms, like you said, and they cover the symptoms, but they never give you the solution.
right. There
So they
is
can keep you coming back, right?
prime example is what's going on right now. One of the main things is if you're in good health, this flu won't fuck with you at all. Seriously. I mean, you give yourself enough D, C, just
Yeah,
all,
D3. D3
yeah,
is,
D3. Yeah, if you give yourself enough of, if you can make your health optimal, you take your vitamins and minerals, it can't touch you. And if it does touch you, it's gonna hardly affect you at all because your body is prepared for it. See, that's the whole thing about this whole culture that we're living in living through right now. They've got us on fast food, processed food. They've got stuff being sprayed in the air. They've got stuff in our water like fluoride. All this
yeah, and
stuff
that's
is
not even
accumulative.
natural.
All
Fluoride
this,
isn't even natural. You know
Hey,
that?
you know what happened? Last year we had to have our well looked at because I guess we had to lower the suction and go deeper. And the guys that came over said that by law in California, or I don't know if it's my county, they were by law they're supposed to put fluoride in our water, so or chlorine, I can't remember which one it was. Anyways, they put some chemicals in our well.
yeah. I think in wells, I'm not schooled on California stuff, but I think that was chlorine. But it could have very well been fluoride.
You don't
Yeah.
know what these people are doing, man. That's
Well,
why, I think the Amish are the smartest people right now, okay? I mean, I really think they got it figured out. Look at you were talking about the schools, okay? if you go back to when they actually started schools, the public idea of schools, it came from Russia. It wasn't an American thing. We used to have little bitty schoolhouses. People would go to school,
Local
and
community schools. Yeah.
yeah, they would go to their community school to a certain age, and then by the time they got older, whatever their parents were doing, they were doing. If the parents were farmers, they would be farmers. If the parents were masons, like the people that made like swords and stuff, what are they called? Iron masons. They would become that. If they were butchers, they would be butchers. What else? If the women made clothes, that's what the daughter did. They got married. They built their own homes.
Mm-hmm.
Now everything is done for us.
Yeah, people even got last names for being Smiths.
Yeah, a blacksmith. That's what it was. A blacksmith.
Right.
I found a town that one of the first towns that was in my area. It was called Pine Tucky. The military bought all their land up and made Fort Gordon, and it was one of the little towns. Have you ever looked up the small towns that were before your big town? Have you ever looked at those, like the history in your town,
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I'm in process of doing that right now.
just
Oh,
to
not at
find the
this moment.
people, just to find out what it was like before all this change? Like,
Yeah.
there's hidden towns everywhere. Like, I was telling Latin about this. There's a lake not too far from me. It's called Clark's Hill. That whole lake is man-made. There's a whole city underneath that lake. There's a couple lakes in Georgia where they flooded it, and there used to be people that lived there.
Yeah. They've done
There's
all over
one
the
by
United States.
Atlanta.
Yeah, they've done that in quite a few different places. Lots of ghost towns everywhere. I
The
mean,
underwater towns.
oh
But
sure.
imagine if you went scuba diving and the stuff you would find. What if we found the original Constitution down there? This is just me wondering. Like, did they have their own Constitution? Was there like documents down there? There are probably some hidden treasures.
Oh,
There's
most
a lot of
definitely.
stuff we haven't discovered.
Well, we got a whole ocean full of that.
Yeah, there's no telling what's down there.
No, just
When I went and seen how big an actual shark was, I didn't want to go back in the ocean. I'm gonna be real with you. Do you know how big those things are? I'm
yeah.
little, and I was looking at the reality because I went to the Bahamas and they got this like slide, and then there's this glass thing that you go through with a tube. It's at the Atlantis, and you can see all the sharks and stuff, and it is right over your head. You talk about, I couldn't get out of there fast enough. But you imagine a shark coming. I didn't know if that glass was thick enough. I thought it was about to be lunch.
Well,
But imagine all the stuff we could find if we actually went on an adventure.
oh, I'm sure that we'd find all kinds of stuff. But I have to go ahead and shut down this stream for the night. I haven't eaten yet, and my stomach is tapping me on the shoulder.
Well, it was
So
nice. Thank you for letting me come up. It's been we'll have to talk again.
Thank you. Have a good night.
thank you,
And,
Latin, for coming up. I appreciate you hanging out with me. And Alice, yes, it was awesome talking to you. I'd like to continue this. Go ahead and get with Latin and get on that Discord thing and get on my channel. We can talk in voice chat over there. That would be awesome.
Yeah, because there's a lot of stuff we can't talk about on here.
Well, I don't restrict as much, but I know what you mean.
Well, yeah, because I just know how they are
Yeah.
working. They
The algorithm.
live. We got to put the sunglasses on, man.
Yeah. But with
Well,
that,
it was nice talking to you.
thank you very much for hanging out with me. I really do appreciate it, and I hope to see you in some of the assembly circles.
Okay, that'd be awesome. You have a good night.
All right. Good night.
All right, bye.
All right. I'd like to thank everybody for coming in and hanging out with me tonight. Latin Patriot came up first. I really do appreciate you hanging out with me and talking with me. I appreciate everybody hanging out in chat and giving your 2 cents. I really do appreciate your participation. The more that we can spread the truth, the better off we'll be. With that, yeah, Sean, I'll see you over there in a little bit. And with that, I'll go ahead and say I yield. Good night and sweet dreams, everybody.